A hello, a you too, and a welcome. It is I, Cosmos, aka Cosmosis Jones in some circles, the slayer of the Joust queues, here to bring you a wonderful update to the Joust tier list. Uh, Last tier list we made was an update for patch 11.4 of Smite Joust, and now this is 11.6. So only a couple patches, but there have been a lot of changes. Mainly the 9.5 patch Revert, which made every god in the game a lot tankier. So huge patch, and we have a lot to talk about. We are going to start from scratch, actually. Not even going to do like just a standard update like the last video. That was an update to the tier list. Link to that if you want to look at the previous tier list. There will be links in the description. But yeah, let's get right into it. Like I said, I am Cosmos, a very tenured Joust player. We have been playing a lot of Joust recently, more Joust than I've actually played in a long time. I don't even know if I played this much Joust in a single season before, but here we are on the leaderboard. I am unsuccess right now. Haven't been playing on the main, but unsuccess has a whole ton of games. Been duo queuing with a tire as well, the number one. So sometimes even queuing with the taco or number 1, 2, and 3 in the GM queues. Recently, we've been really cracking what's good. Been posting a lot of wins. Been doing a lot of solo queuing actually yesterday and today. We're on a pretty heavy win streak. I think we played like 11 yesterday and we played 5 today. So we're doing a lot of winning. So definitely have a pretty good handle on what's good. Been playing a lot of different gods. I'm actually doing a little series to get every single warrior in the game to a master's border. There are 20 of them. We've got 3. But I am getting sidetracked. Let's get back to the topic of the tier list. And I have it right here just for you guys. We're going to be talking about uh, how I believe these characters perform when they're played at their best, their potential. And yeah, it's completely fine. If you have a completely different opinion from mine, doesn't mean it's wrong or it's right, it's black or it's white. But we're going to start here by, oh, we need to edit the tiers. Oh, shoot. Actually, whatever. Let's just keep it simple. S, A, B, C, D. Never mind, we can't do that. We're going to go, we'll go S, S. We'll do an S. Then we'll do a, let's keep it relatively simple. S, A. We want an A plus. D, D. So we got SS, which is must pick or must ban if you let characters in this rank through. Then you are either picking them or you're losing the game. The S tier are going to be your like really super duper strong characters that are going to fill most of your drafts. We got our A tier, which is just your average good character that you can pick. And we got B, which is, you know, below average. They're just all right. But in the right scenarios, if you got like a guy that mains the god and he's got good matchups, then great, pick him. And then we got our C for not great. Don't pick that god. Pretty bad. Boom. That'll do it. And let's get right into it. We'll place these quickly with a bit of description as much as needed. We'll start just from the top of the list and go straight down. I do believe. Let's go with my good friend Achilles. He's a very strong character in Joust, though I often find that people think he's a little bit stronger than he actually is, but he is quite strong right now. We'll put him in the S tier. He can fill out a very strong position in your draft. I don't think he's like a must pick or must ban character. This guy's got a lot of poke. The execute is super relevant in a meta where you see a lot of tanks, and the 9.5 revert that came with 11.6 favors him pretty heavily because his poke means so much more. He can actually just solo carries later on in the game, which he had a really hard time doing before because he just didn't have that kind of damage. But now that their health bars are a lot lower, Achilles can do that again. So Achilles has been feeling really strong for me lately. Very strong character. We'll leave him in the S tier. Agni. Agni's a good god. He's very pickable. Very weak until he hits level 5. Basically just not even on your team until he hits level 5. Like, this guy is pretty much worthless until he hits that rain fire spike. But his damage is very good, very consistent. He's relatively safe, has a dash, which a lot of mages can't say they have. Like, you got your Anubises of the world, your Hells of the world, your Zeuses of the world, your Zhongs of the world. Like, those guys are not very good at escaping dive, but Agni can, and he can return a lot of damage. You just have to get him to that level 5, get him to that mid game, and his damage will be pumping. His range is a little bit not great, but if you can set him up, he can do a whole lot, and he can do it safely. So Agni is just a strong character, but nothing crazy. AMC. Here's a character that has fallen a little bit out of favor, especially after the changes that 11.6 brought, because he's just a very, very easy to kill now. But that being said, his pressure is still really solid, and his clear is super relevant, so we'll put him in the A tier alongside Agni. He's just like, he's alright, he's decent. Good. Okay. But he's definitely not super, super duper strong. Alright, we got Opwash here. This god is not great. Not great at all. There are very few situations where I would pick an Opwash. Only against like really heavy healing comps. His damage is good, but you can dive him really easily, and like we've been saying with these other guys, the 11.6 changes just make him a little bit too easy to kill. These mages that like to build a bit tanky at times can feel quite a bit weaker with this patch. So Opwash is just like, I don't really want to pick him. I'm even tempted to drag him down into the C category, but I do think he's got a place. Amaterasu. I think she's pretty darn strong. I think she's better than Achilles, in fact. This god is very, very strong. Once you get to the mid and late game stages, she becomes a really heavy, dominant force to deal with, as that auto attack warrior often does, because she can target any of the 3 enemy gods and be able to 1v1 them in most scenarios and kill them. Is the big one, is she can take on any target and make them killable for her team. Very safe. They're 3 and her ult. Got a good long dash that silences, and of course that big team fight ult. She got buffed recently, actually. She's got extra healing on her 1, I believe it is. They did something else. They lowered the cooldown of her ult, I think, by 5 seconds at all ranks. So she's got like a 70-second ult at max rank, I believe. Level 20. And this character does feel a little bit weaker, especially in the early game, because she can't just like poke as well as a lot of the other warriors can. So honestly, I think she kind of like stayed in a similar strength position as she was before, which is very strong, but her early game can be taken advantage of. The nice thing is her mirror, her 2, is very, very good at securing buffs. So if you have similar pressure to the other team, you might just find yourself coming out in the driver's seat because you're able to secure the buffs, the neutral buffs, a lot easier with Amaterasu's 2, because it's just so good at confirming those buffs. So I think she's just very strong. It's a very good team fight. And very survivable. Can help the team. Can kill all targets. Just all around amazing pick. But she is a little bit difficult to pilot. Alright, on her. We hate on her because he's so hecking good. Alright, we're going to put on her up here in the S tier. Don't think he's a must pick, must ban. Strengths of this character, really annoying to fight as a frontliner. This is probably the most annoying character to fight in my experience as a frontline player, because he just has such good self-peel, and if you mess up, he throws up that 40% slow in front of your face, and you are getting smelted by that extra damage he deals. He hurts so much, dude, and he's so hard to dive. There are good ways to get on him if you're playing like Blink Assassins, like Kamazots and whatnot. You build a little tanky, it's hard for Honor to deal with. But he just has so many good matchups against like almost every warrior and guardian that on her he just shreds, dude. It's more than most other hunters. Like him, Hou-Yi, and Medusa, they just shred through you as a tank. But he does have to play his spacing correctly. His range is not exactly that great. It's mainly just playing around his pillar if you're the on her player. And just like Just throwing that sucker up when the tanks are fighting, and you just give your team a really big advantage because there's just a massive pillar just appeared and it's slowing you down. Like it's like he just threw a frostbound in your face, and it's also making him deal like, what is it, like 30% extra damage or whatever the heck it is. Let me look at it actually. On her, on her, on her. On her pillar, max rank. 20% extra damage, 35% slow. Yeah, that's a really big team fight swinger. So if you're a smart on her player and you're playing your spacing properly, you can make the game a lot easier for your tanks and for yourself if you're utilizing that pillar properly and output a lot of damage because just on her just hits really, really hard. All right, Anubis. Anubis sucks. He's just about the same as Opwash. They both are sitting ducks that do a lot of damage. And unfortunately, being a sitting duck in Joust gets you killed. Ao Kwong. This god is bad. I want to put him in C. I'm going to put him in C. This god built full damage gets abused. This god built tank gets abused. His range is pretty lackluster. He can take advantage of people in lower level lobbies, but this is like I'm seeing like peak performance of the character from every single player across the board. Ao Kwong is not having fun. If he works in your lobbies, great. The lobbies I'm thinking of, he is not going to work in those higher echelon levels of gameplay. Even though he has an execute. And he is kind of annoying to fight because his cooldowns are so good with that non-conquest buff. His healing is pretty nice, but his range is just so low. It's really easy to take advantage of this guy and poke him out, and then it's just miserable, dude. You're running out of mana, you're running out of health, you just have nothing. It just feels so bad. Like, just play a more traditional tank at that point. Like, I'd rather even play Thanatos than Ao Kwong, bro. It's pretty bad. All right, Aphrodite. Decent character. 11.6 changes, I think, hurt her a little bit because she's just so naturally squishy. Most of these support mages, or even damage mages, she could be belt damage, feel a bit worse just because their health pools are so gosh darn low. So they just get squashed. You put one Cerberus on this Aphrodite chick, and she is done for. So, but she can have very positive matchups into very specific characters, like people that are trying to run like a Naja Ganesh Scylla comp. Just like all in one guy. Afroult kind of puts a stop to that. She's really good at empowering like one other character, right? Like you just throw an Achilles next to her and he's just having a lot more fun. But you do always have to watch out for the Afro herself getting picked on, which can make things a bit trickier if the enemy team knows how to take advantage of her by throwing down those big AoE abilities. Are typically what she struggles with, and she can't usually like dive as deep as the person that she's likely linked to. So feels pretty bad in some scenarios, but she is a decent pick and fine to play, similar to Augie, but she does have those very acute weaknesses that just make her like, she's just good. She can do things. Apollo. Oh my god, I hate this god. I played him the other day when I was just like trolling, like, yeah, let's have some fun and play Apollo. And let me tell you, this god is some absolute garbanzo beans. His range is so bad. His CC is just so... Oh, it's so negligible, dude. Like, they had to be so close to you for it to matter, and you just get poked from so far away by everyone, and you don't want to just ult in alone. Like, you're just so reliant on your team. Like, you need people to lock... You need people to lock the enemies down for you to deal damage to them. Because they're so short range. I can't throw up an on her pillar. I just have to go pew, 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 and throw out a little air guitar and hope for good things to happen. So yeah, this god I think is pretty darn bad. He just really just does nothing. He sucks. Sorry to say. Next up, Arachne. I kind of want to put her in the same tier down here. She is awful. Yeah, she is not good. I actually lost to an Arachne the other day when we were playing double mage, Thoth, Opwash. Was not exactly the best matchup for us. But yeah, this god in general is just pretty terrible. Has 0 lane pressure. She can pressure a buff, but if you can't clear the lane, then you're not going to make it to the buff first and pressure it out. You could try and get sneaky and like sneak those buffs when they're not looking with a mannequin scepter. But if the enemy team knows what's up and they picked properly around you, you are just done for as an Arachne. So We're going to leave her nice and low here. Very nice and low. Ares. This is a top tier Guardian. Top tier. Not a must pick, must ban, because there are a bunch of different ways you can deal with him. But Ares is just that guy that you don't ever really want to have to think about in a draft. I ban Ares pretty much every game. Like I said, I don't think he is a must pick slash ban character just because there are a lot of different ways that you can beat him. Because you can kind of abuse his immobility. You pick characters that have slow immunities, characters that can easily deal with his ultimate. He becomes a lot easier to deal with, like Baron Samedi is kind of really classic counter to Ares because you can just throw your 3 on him and he's just kind of owned. And then he hits a chain, but you hit your 2. It's slow immunes for not only you, your entire team. If he ults, you ult him back. They're not looking good for your boy Ares in those scenarios. So, there are a few characters that can deal very, very well with him. Struggles with walls. But he is so gosh darn good at getting that early pressure with those chains, securing those buffs with his 3 that does percentage damage, clearing waves with his 3 that does percentage damage. So if you have pressure with an Ares, the game might just be over. Because there are a lot of different characters in this game. The majority of characters, like 80% of the characters, especially the frontliners, just have a really tough time dealing with Ares. Like, Alma has trouble. Achilles has trouble. If you get a chain on him, Honor has trouble. You build Wingblade Ares, it's a little bit easier to play those matchups. God is very, very strong. And Joust is all about that pressure. If you get early pressure and you just dominate the neutral farm, you get a couple levels lead after the first like 10, 15 minutes, the game might just be over just because you have that much of a lead. So Ares is one of the best, if not the best, at doing that. Artemis. God is not great, but she's not that terrible. Her clear is pretty gosh darn awful, but her teamfight's very good. And her 3 is an 8-second cooldown. Really consistent poke. So this god is a little bit better than your Apollos of the world who can't poke and can't deal the damage they need to deal. She can, lock targets down. She can hit the whole team with a big stun. That's basically unavoidable from the Tusky. So Artemis isn't that bad, but she definitely isn't that good because her pressure is so terrible. Contagion, really good item right now. You can, if you're throwing down your Artemis traps, try and catch people around corners and whatnot, they'll just walk into your trap and Contagion proc you. It'll stop your back. It'll proc the Warrior's axes. It feels kind of terrible as the Artemis player. But because she has a really good team fight, if you can get there, big if, you can make things happen on the Artemis. Ardeo. This character got a significant buff recently. She got 1 second cooldown reduction on both stances of her 1, and she got, at max rank, she now heals 200 per god hit instead of 100 on, I believe it's called Energy Surge, where she goes overload. So Ardeo, quite a bit stronger, but I hesitate on where to put her. I want to put her in A, but she definitely could be an S worthy character, because this character, I just haven't seen enough of her yet. She feels like she can be really strong. She has a lot of good matchups against, your dash and jump characters like Atlas and whatnot. Gets packed up, though, by your characters like Ares. So, I like her. I do like her. I think she's very playable right now. But she can get outranged. You can abuse her a little bit just because she can't, pressure you too hard unless she's really close to you. Like, it's just her 3, really, right? That's annoying. So if you, overcommit to her teammates, then she might catch you in the cripple field and make it hard for you to escape. And that's when she feels really strong. But at the same time, if you can keep her at, a stiff arm's length, keep her away from you, then it's really hard for her to impact the game. If you can interrupt her long-range 3, it just becomes really tough for the Ardeo. Speedrun this tier list 5 minutes, and that won't be happening. Athena. I think Athena ain't bad. She definitely ain't bad, but I think she's worse than Ardeo. This kind of makes me want to make an A+ tier, actually, in between this A and S. And I think I actually am going to do that. Hopefully I can do that. Add a row above. Make this an A+er, because I think That RDO definitely deserves to be a little bit stronger than Athena, but a little weaker than some of the other guys here. So let me adjust the colors, actually. This, we got that. That's safe. Then we'll just shift all the colors down, I suppose. All right. Nice. So now that I've added a new tier, I kind of need to explain what the A+ category is. Just, you know, as you would imagine. A little bit in between A and S, where S being the characters that you're most likely going to pick to fill out your roster because they're just really strong. A being just like a solid pick. They're good to pick, but, you know, they've got weaknesses and strengths. They're very acute ones in some scenarios that will make them, you know, maybe I want to pick it, maybe I don't, depending on what the draft looks like. And so A+ is just like just a bit stronger, like a little bit more strength than weaknesses, but they definitely do have those weaknesses, but they have a lot more strength than weaknesses. So they are just, you know, a little bit stronger, but not strong enough to be like, I'm trying to pick this almost every draft if I'm good at them. Capiche? All right. Atlas. This god is very strong. Very, 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 very strong. His ult reduces at max rank 35% power and 35% protections if it takes you 7 times. So this god can punish you incredibly hard as a frontliner, and you will just get absolutely decimated if you tank this Atlas ult. Early on, it is pretty threatening as well because it just shreds so much prot and so much power. So if you just get into like one awkward position, Atlas just punishes you so hard. He also has really good clear, which is something that having on your tank is always nice to have because he can assist you in gaining pressure on the wave. A really big area of effect with his one ult and his pull, and he's got a little bit of slow immunity, which helps as well. And another big thing recently that I've been on is Amulet of Silence on this god, which gives you a 1.5 second silence on your basic attacks every 12 seconds. Can be utilized very easily on Atlas because he can now proc that using the basic attack pulses on his first ability. Throws out that astrolabe, you pulse it once, silences the guy for 1.5 seconds, then you go up and grab him. So matchups that Atlas used to have a much harder time with are a lot easier now with that item. Like, you got people that are trying to knock up immune your grab from your 2. You can now throw your 1, silence them, and then pick them up. And you can't Ares Flames away from that. You can't Achilles dash. You can't Herc dash. You can't Herc ult when you're silenced. So it makes Atlas quite a bit stronger. Is there a way to know a tier list for god items to build in Joust for tanks? No, nothing like that out there. I do have how to build videos, though, if you want to look into those on YouTube. God, guys, the name is Cosmos with an S. The bot is not taking any prisoners right now. New to Smite and Joust, any tips? Yep, we're going through this tier list right now. I would just sit here and listen. But yeah, anyways, back to what I was saying. Anyways, oh no. Anyway, back to what I was saying with Atlas. Super, super duper strong god. But his one biggest weakness is that he can't do it alone. He needs another tank. Because you can punish this guy quite heavily with something like a Kabrakan, something like a Mulan, just grabbing him in and starting butt blasting him. Like, he really struggles when the pressure's being put on him. But when he's allowed to play as like that secondary unit, Atlas just feels so incredibly strong. Because he can just really, really screw you up if you put yourself in an awkward position. He can really punish you. And like I said, just great god. So here we go. A Wheelix. This god kind of sucks. But she doesn't suck as much as some of these other gods. So I think I'm going to put a Wheelix, it's either B or bottom of A. She's alright. Alright. I'm going to drop her in the B tier for now. She's below average, I would say. She's not like my strongest character. She has very particular counter matchups against jump characters, like Honor and Oyi and whatnot, that she can do a lot against. Serket, she has a decent matchup into. But because her clear and pressure is so bad, makes it tough to get to those points sometimes. Like, you can combo her with like a Bacchus or like a Sobek on your team, and it can make the game kind of nice for you to play. But it's very, very dependent on what they pick. So super, super counter pick God. And I'm not playing this God unless, you know, I know that I've got a master of the character running it. So she can do things, but she's just so team reliant and so matchup dependent that I'm gonna have to throw her down in the B tier. She's not the most amazing God. All right. All right. Pair Atlas with Circuit. Yeah, pretty solid. Timed out for the question. Yeah, there's a 1 in 4 chance that when you type Cosmo, because my name is Cosmos, an S, 1 in 4 chance that the bot will time you out. Very unlucky. That's gonna be your new Smurf name, Butt Blaster. Atlas with Mulan. Yeah, that's a very good combo. All right, Baba Yaga. This character is underplayed. Very underplayed. This character is quite good right now. I am happy that she's not getting played a lot. But Baba Yaga is just a damage machine. Like the entire identity of this character is just she just does a million damage. She got 2 types of damage with her 2 because she throws 2 of them. She got 4 types of damage with her ult because she throws 4 of them. And she's got damage on her 1 and damage on her 3. She hurts a lot. The current build that I've been finding really effective on mages after that 11.6 patch is that you can just go double flat pen into like any comp now. Double flat pen and then shard. So double flat, shard, and then you fill out the rest with stuff like Soul Reaver, Soul Gem, you know, other just fill items. But you just chunk everybody with this character, with any mage that has good burst, and Baba is definitely one of them. So this character, although she's a little finicky with her 3 and her ult, if you're positioning yourself properly and your teammates are, you know, putting you in good spots where you can get your damage off, and you're in the right place at the right time, you just do so much damage with Baba. Her ult, even if you don't like kill somebody, like you can take half of a tank's HP at like any point in the game if you hit them with all 4 shots of the Baba ult. Like this god just hurts so much, dude. She is one of my least favorite characters to play against as a tank for sure. But she does have those very acute weaknesses with her 3 and her ult, where you just have to be in the right spots though. You know, kind of like a Raijin with his 3. Like you just can't be getting caught like that. Or if you are getting caught, you gotta use your beads so that you can get your jump off. So, but otherwise, her damage is very, very relevant. Very strong character. Bacchus. God is pretty darn strong, guys. Pretty darn strong. I think I'm gonna put him up here in the S tier. I didn't give Bacchus a lot of respect for a long time because in the late game he didn't feel very good from my point of view, since it was just really hard for him to kill people or offer like as much of the team fight as another Guardian might. But with 11.6, Bacchus can kill carries again. Arc Druid Fury, Bacchus blinking into your backline, throwing down the ult and then whacking your carry for extra, you know, like 300 damage basic attack out of their 1800 health. That is gonna hurt a lot. His CC, super, super relevant. Very easy god to play. You just burp on him, and then if you can safely flop on him, you flop on him. You can blink in and ult them, and they're intoxicated for 6 seconds. They can't play the game for a long time. Bacchus feeling really good this patch. I played him a few times. And the fact that he can actually like more often solo a squishy just feels really, really nice for him. He's really, really good at bullying those immobile mages that don't have jumps particularly. So he can bully like a Thoth, he can bully a Vulcan, he can bully, you know, this, that, and the other thing on the mage side, and he can actually kill them now in the later stages of the game. What was the big change in 11.6 that made him better? Yeah, what Hibana said, the 9.5 revert. So 11.6 came with a revert of patch 9.5, which back in season 9, the 5th patch, they did a really massive overhaul on god protections. Every single god, protections and health, went up. But with 11.6, 9.5 got reverted. So all that stuff went back down. So people are a lot squishier, and a lot of different tanks that I personally didn't think were as strong are now a lot stronger. Like Achilles, his poke matters a lot more. He can actually solo you in the late game when you're a squishy. Same with Bacchus. And that's going to be a common thread for a lot of these characters that I thought maybe just weren't offering enough in those later stages in terms of killing people. All right, Bakasura. This god is also bad. I kind of want to put him in the same place as Arachne. And I think I will. Both these gods are pretty darn terrible. They operate very similarly, where they're just trying to AFK farm and then just kind of blow up one guy for making an error in those later stages, because they can kill people very fast in one-on-one scenarios. But if you're playing properly and you're picking properly and you're just not allowing them to get any buffs for free and whatnot, then you would just mitigate them so hard because they have no pressure around the wave. Like they're just really a sitting duck, just like, all right, team, someone clear the wave for me so I can get some XP out because I can't do it. So it just feels so worthless having a Baka on your team until like those late game scenarios. If people are making mistakes, then you can take advantage of them and do something good on the Baka, but more often than not, that will not be happening. All right, Bake Kujira. Oh man, dude. Bake Kujira sucks, guys. He's so bad now. This is one of the characters that just really got the dick stick from 11.6. He's a god that really relies on his tankiness.
Susano SS.
No. But thank you for the primer, Danny. I appreciate you. Welcome back. Atlas SS, high poke, high control, ult destroys tanks, very strong in this meta. Yes, but he's quite punishable as well. You have to pick him in the right scenarios. I do think Atlas is quite strong, though. Bake Kujira, like I said, this god thrives off of being tanky, and with 11.6, he is much less tanky. He gets damage from being tanky. Like, that's his whole thing. And it kind of just lost that. That, combined with all the nerfs that he got, this god is almost a sea god, but because he's a guardian and he actually can still provide a little bit of pressure for you and has a really solid team fight ult, he's going to be a B god. But he's just so bad right now. He just feels awful to play Bake. So I've just been avoiding him entirely. The guy just does not feel good, man. Like, he's just not tanky anymore. And it's just so bad. All right, Baron Somdi. I've had this guy really high on the lists lately, but I'm going to move him down a little bit in comparison to the last list, because I do think 11.6 did make him a bit weaker, and maybe I overrated him a little bit in the tier lists previous. But Baron is a very strong pick. Counters a lot of different gods. Like I said, a little bit weaker with 11.6 because he's a bit more punishable with that lower health pool. And I'm typically trying to build this guy tankier, so, you're just not very tanky early on at all. Like, anyone could die level 3. And Baron's wave pressure, pretty bad, but his fight presence is insane. This god is so good at countering a lot of these tanks that get picked. His ult just so relevant against, like, Bacchus, against Ares, even Atlas. If the Atlas is not using his dash well, or if you have, like, a wall character to block his dash off. And he's one of my favorite matchups against Achilles, because Achilles just cannot do anything against Baron. He can't get away from him. You force his ult when you Baron ult him, and Achilles without ult, that dude sucks. So Baron he's really strong utility for your entire team, and he's very good at setting up plays. So if you have a Baron that's building tanky and you've got a Hunter that likes people being held in place, like a Ho Yi, for example, that just does a million damage if the guy stands still for just a couple seconds, Baron is your guy. The only thing you have to worry about is the clear. So I've actually been finding myself going Conduit Gem on Baron. Conduit Gem and rushing, I was doing Arc Druid, but I've been recently liking rushing Abyssal Stone Baron, actually. Abyssal Stone and Conduit Gem Baron is so in. You can clear the wave, you lower their cooldowns when you hit them, so if the Achilles ult's away, he's got a long cooldown to work with, and you don't. So Baron is very nice, but like I said, you do have to worry about getting bursted, particularly early, because he does have mage stats, and mages are squishy as heck. So you got to be careful. But he just brings a lot. All right, Bastet. This god's not bad. He's playable. Very playable. Her pressure around the wave is okay, mediocre. She's really good at punishing particularly mages in the back because they just can't deal with the cat, and she's very mobile, hard to hit. So once you get to those mid-game stages and later game stages, she can actually do a good bit. She's not doing anything crazy, which is why we're only leaving her in the A tier, but she's not bad. You know, she's better than a Wheelix. Though Wheelix is one of those counter matchups for Bastet where she just kind of gets owned. So maybe not the greatest comparison there, but Bastet, you know, she can offer something around the wave, unlike a Wheelix, and she can do a little bit of poking and trading this, there, and the other thing, and she has really good backline dive. So she's not terrible. She's good, playable. Maybe not good, but definitely playable. Bologna. This character has been nerfed a bit. I think she's fallen a bit from where she was before. Her level 3 is still incredibly strong. I fought a couple Bolognas recently. And even though the game didn't end up being very close, early on that god is just so hard to deal with. Because she just does a lot of damage and doesn't take a lot of damage because her passive gives her so many protections. Her early game is super duper strong, and if you can take advantage of it, you can do a lot with this character. Because, like I've said before, if you have early pressure in Joust, you can just dominate the game and win before they even have a chance because you just got a level lead from having all those neutral camps. So Bologna, a little bit nerfed, but I don't think she's that bad. She's pretty solid, really solid. And she just brings like the auto attack presence late game. The only thing is she doesn't have is the poke. So she's kind of just like a downgrade from Alma, in my opinion. Because she's got a longer cooldown ult after it got nerfed back to 90, right? Her team fight's not as good as Alma's. Her survivability isn't as good as Alma's, so she really just is a worse Alma. With a stronger early and a much weaker mid to late. Alright, Cabrakan. This god is gosh darn strong. How strong, though, is the question. Cabrakan, I think, actually is a little bit weaker than he was before. He is one of the more annoying tanks to play against, but to play, in my experience, not exactly the most fun time. The guy does not do very much damage unless you build a lot of damage, and even with his mana consumption changes, his 3 still does use a lot of mana and not do very much damage. His team fight is super duper strong, and he can provide a lot of pressure because he's got so much CC. Feels really good for your squishies because he has so much setup and so much CD. But I think I'm going to move him down from the top tier Guardians bit this patch just because he doesn't get played very much, and when I do see him get played, he doesn't do very well. I think this god just needs like just a little something, and he would feel so much better. His range is pretty low. He has to go blank pretty much. And, if you have really good matchups, though, he is really, really darn good. But Cabrakan, the old thing I used to do to Cabrakans back in the day is so back. Where if Cabrakan tries to go aggressive on the first wave, you just horrific him when his 1 is down, and you just destroy him. Because he has to get close to do his stuff, right? His stuff is very good, but if he can punish it properly, it doesn't work out very great. So, we'll move Cabrakan down a little bit, but the god is still quite strong. Camazotz. This god is going right up here. I think Camazotz is really good right now. Very, very strong character, the Zotzer. Has really solid poke, really solid dive, and the 11.6 patch favors him because he's a burst character. Assassins in general feel a bit better in Smite overall, just because of their burst being so relevant. And the thing that Camazotz has that the other ones don't is not only is his burst long range, but it's safe. He's very safe. He's got a jump, an instant jump, and he's got the ult that takes him to the sky for 5 seconds, and you can't hit him. So, very, very nice to be a safe burst character in a meta like this. In a game state like this. Also, Roller Coaster, thank you very much for the primer. So, Camazotz is going to be the strongest assassin we have placed so far. He's got good wave clear, good jungle clear, but he can get bullied out a little bit. That's kind of the only thing you have to worry about because his health pool is going to be low just like everyone else's, right, early on. And then as an assassin, you don't have that much of sustain. Camazotz does have built-in sustain, solid built-in sustain, but not as much as like your Amas or your Achilleses of the world, particularly early on. So you have to worry a little bit about getting out pressured, but once you get to that team fight stage, he bullies backliners very, very well, and he has significant damage against frontliners too. So Camazotz, he can kill all targets on the map, and being able to kill all targets on the map is a very, very strong component of a top Joust character. Cerberus. Yeehaw, partner. I think Cerberus might be a top 3 Guardian right now. This god almost, like, if I see a little bit more of this guy doing really well in top tier lobbies, I might just have to move him up to SS, because this god is incredibly strong right now. 11.6 favors him a lot, because his 2-1 combo is enough to almost kill a squishy at any point in the game. So Cerberus is just incredibly strong. His matchups are really, really good against almost everyone. He has a mage on his team. He just breathes on a frontliner, and all of a sudden the mage is hitting for true damage on you because you have lower protections after 11.6. And he's just like one-shotting your backliner. So Cerberus, so good. Also, on top of all that, he got a extremely potent buff to his 3 this past patch, where he can jump during his ult. So you can ult, jump, and then stun them after with your 1. So you can go from their tower line and drag them to your tower line, pretty much. And it's incredibly good. So Serb will punish a lot of characters with this. That and the Amulet of Silence technology I've discovered recently. We were in a intense Grandmaster game the other day, and I bought Amulet of Silence, and I Amulet of Silence to Hercules at his tower line, and then ulted him back halfway down the lane, and stunned him, and killed him with my team. So Serb is very, very strong. Moving on, Cardenos. This god is A-okay. He's pretty average, but I don't think he's that bad. I'm actually going to put him on the same level as AMC. I think he's got a little bit more survivability. He's got decent wave clear. His damage is decent, but not as good as some of the top hunters that we'll get into later, like on her. Well, on her we already did, but there are going to be some others. But Cardenos, decent god. Decent, decent, decent. He ain't bad. Shock. I think this character actually feels pretty okay right now. I played him a couple times yesterday. His damage is pretty relevant. You level his 2. Everyone lost protections with 11.6, but not a lot of abilities got changed. So Shock getting 100 of each protection at max rank on his 2 is pretty significant. This dude gets quite tanky. I was playing him yesterday, actually, with Corrupted Bluestone, the Redstone. And when I used my 2, I had 400 physical protections, I think it was. I didn't build Cloak. I didn't build Thebes. I think I was like Glad Shield, Regrowth, Sekhmet Scepter. I had damage items. And I think I had the Bluestone and the Sekhmet damage items, and the rest were tank items. But I got up to 400 Fizz Prots. That's kind of crazy. Like, this god's late game is actually really, really good. So, and his early game is solid too, right? Because he's got good chunk damage, good safe chunk damage, and he's got a good team fight impact ult. So Shock actually has garnered a bit of attention for me in recent days. I think he's pretty good right now. Definitely not bad. Chang'e. This god is pretty good. She's A plus. She's definitely A plus. Yeah, Chang'e is strong right now. This god is very, very good at hunting down unsuspecting backliners and blink ulting them. That is her job. That is the one thing she does, and she does it gosh darn heckin' well. With 11.6 and everyone being so much squishier, she does it even better. She has a damage increase passive. She can build Staff of Mirrodin very well, which is a damage increased item. She builds Rod very well. She builds Conduit Gem, which evolves into Gem of Focus. All of these items are giving her percent damage increase, and she will just explode you as a carry later on. Her weakness, of course, is her range is not very good, so she's got to blink to get in there and do that. And her damage versus tanks is not particularly strong. So you pick Chang'an, they pick Cerberus into it, you're done for. But if they don't, then you're looking good. They pick double backline, you're probably living the the freest game of your life. You just go Conduit Gem and double flat pen with Doom Orb and Spear of Deso, slap on a Staff of Mirrodin, get a Rod of Tahuti, get an Obsidian Shard, and boom. Blink beads, Chang'e, great time. You killed the backliner. The Cupid and the Vulcan are crying. You won. So Chang'e, pretty solid character. You just have to pick her in the right slot. But when you pick her in that right slot, it might as well be an auto win. Because if the backliner can't deal with you, it's toast. All right, Charon. This god sucks. He's not as bad as Bake, but he definitely does not feel very good right now. I definitely am not feeling the Charon. In fact, I'm not feeling the Charon so much, I think I'm going to have to move. Oh god. Do I move Bake down and Charon down, or do I move Athena up? Hmm. Hmm. I think I'm going to move Athena up. I don't think Athena... I think Athena's pretty solid. That taunt is very relevant. But it's just like very coordination heavy. And there are not a lot of coordinated teams running Athena. Alright, anyway, back to Charon. I think he's just an okay pick. This guy used to be a couple tiers higher. He used to be a lot stronger. Because poke was so relevant, did so much damage, really pissed carries off. But he's quite a bit weaker now after all the nerfs he's gotten. He still can definitely do some things, but his pressure around the wave is pretty bad. It's just his team fight that you're playing for. Those shields, actually, later on I've found, played against him a few times recently, are quite impactful, or can be quite impactful, especially, like, I've been on his team a few times, and that shield feels very nice as a backliner in the later game, but he just doesn't offer very much early on, pressure-wise. You can really take advantage of this guy. He's got, like, no peel for you as a backliner, so it's kind of just like you have to be on an aggressive foot, or Charon's just feeling kind of bad because you're going to beads his ult when you're diving him, when you're diving his tanks, or his carries, rather. And so it's just going to have to be the shield is going to be enough to bail you out, but against horrific element, it kind of sucks. So, Charon, you know, I think he's fun for the guy playing him if you get to the late game, because he just gets to poke a lot. So he's definitely not like terrible, but he just feels so much worse than he did before, and I'd rather be a lot of different Guardians now. Charybdis. I think this god is pretty good. Question is she A plus good or is she A good? She definitely ain't bad. I'll put her in a A, though I think she has potential to be A plus. We'll see the further we get down this list if she deserves that. But I think Charybdis is decent, very decent. The buff they gave to her 3 makes her a lot more fun to play because you can't really interrupt it, right? But she has very low range. She's not clearing the wave quickly unless she can step melee range of it, kind of like how a Rom would clear a wave, and Rom's not very good in Joust because he can't do that very easily. So she's got good clear on camps, good clear on the wave when she can get to actually hitting it. And she's got good shred on her too. And they made her 3, like I said, feel a lot better. I think this character is decent. She's very, very safe. When you just need a hunter that's going to live, and you're just going to let your front line do whatever they want, like, let's say you pick a very heavy dive comp, and all you care about from your backliner is how they survive. Charybdis, great god to pick. They picked Odin, you need to break someone out of a cage. Charybdis, great god to pick. Against Cabrakan, great god to pick. So there are a lot of scenarios where she can be good, but she's not going to be like forcing the issue, like an on her, like assisting you on the dive by throwing up that very annoying pillar, or like a Hou-Yi dropping those suns and really like exploding one target. Like that's not Charybdis's thing. She needs someone else to set her up, and she can be there if you need her, and she's very safe. So she's just a solid pick in the right scenario. Chernabog. I'd say Chernabog is in a similar boat to these other hunters here. A pretty safe character, but his damage isn't as acute as some of the higher performers like the On Her. But he's got decent clear. He's pretty darn safe, And if he gets that reset off after getting poked out, he can get back very quickly, of course, with that global ultimate. So he's got some good things going for him, but he's just A-okay. He's an alright character. Not looking to pick him all the time. Honestly, barely ever looking to pick him. But he's probably better than Artemis. So we'll put him above there just because he's got a little bit more pressure. All right, Chiron. This guy got better with 11.6. He did. I think he's a solid A-pluser. I'd put him at. So we're going in order here. We're gonna put warriors first, then hunters. Oh, then guardians, then mages and assassins. Just think is what we're doing in the tiers here. So Chiron, I think, is a pretty non-strong ADC right now because ability hunters feel a decent chunk better after the changes that 11.6 brought. Since people are so squishy, the ability hunters will be able to kill squishies a lot easier, and Chiron, being one of those characters that can reach the squishy very easily, can create a win con for you when you have a very heavy dive team. He can assist in that dive. And also, cleanse you at some points. He can get away from most divers. Not all, but most divers he can get away from. Relatively safe character. And he's fast. Dude has like 380 base movement speed or whatever it is. He is so quick. So Chiron, pretty solid pick right now. Just really good range, good clear, has decent pressure, and then, like I said, he can assist with the dive comp. So if you're going for really heavy dive, Chiron will be nice. Right. Kronos. This god is kind of bad. Though I think he's better than Opwash and Anubis. But at the same time, I don't think he's as good as Agni and Afro. I think Kronos is just really squishy right now. Because after 11.6, bro actually dies in like 3 abilities. So it actually is like a terrible time to be a Kronos. Like this dude, I actually played against a few Kronos. Like 3 Kronoses? Is that what you say? Kronoses? Is that right? And that dude is kind of weak. He's very easy to kill. I think I played Achilles and double combat dodged him and half his health was gone early on in the game. So that dude is not looking good. He has potential to be good, but I think his stats are just too low to actually be good. Kleena? This god is okay. Her lack of heavy hard CC makes her a bit of a weaker assassin, and the fact that it's hard for her to burst a tank without a lot of items online makes her a bit weaker. And then, like, even when you do get all of those items online, like, they hurt you a lot too if you build heavy damage. So I've had a Kleena on my team and against me a few times since the patch, and she just feels meh because she's a very selfish character, wants to play in those walls and do a lot of things on her own, and it just doesn't work out. Her pressure around the wave isn't very good. Her pressure on the buff's not very good. Her secure is not very good. A lot of things are not very good, but she gets out of late game and she can deal a lot of damage and be quite elusive. So she's all right, but she's definitely not someone I'm looking to have on my squad most games. I'm tempted to lower her down to a Wheelix level, but I am gonna lower her down to a Wheelix level. She's just not amazing. Like assassins with setup feel good. Assassin with the setup and damage and safe damage. So like Camazotz has really safe damage. He's not setting anything up. But Basset's got a little bit of setup, got good safe damage, can impact. Like Kleena's just, I don't know. She's just like a weird spot in Joust particularly. She doesn't have like a lot of amazing walls to play around. All right, Kulu. This guy's pretty strong. I'm gonna put him up an A plus here. That's a strong guardian. He has really solid clear, really solid pressure because of that really solid clear. And his team fight is pretty solid. He's got a few like really bad matchups like Achilles. And just like most basic attack characters can kind of put him in a box. But the basic attack characters in particular need to get a few items to do that. And he's decent at protecting himself before he ults. So Kulu, pretty solid, pretty darn solid character. Does a lot of damage and has good pressure. So those are 2 things that will make you a very strong character in Joust. But he can be very abusable. When his ult's down, really long cooldown ult can take advantage of that. Or if you can poke him with, you have easy engage tools, like you got a Mulan grapple you can throw at him. You've got Surtur Rock that you can throw at him to like quickly CC him, and then like, all right, everyone just drop a load of abilities on him. Like like he can't chase down a Scylla type of thing. So like if they have like a Surtur 2, bonk. Scylla 1-2, bonk. All right, there goes half the Kulu's health. Bro is actually very depressed. So he does have some weaknesses that will not be dragging him up through the ranks here, but he does have a lot of really strong strengths, and like we said, for A plus, a lot more strengths than weaknesses. So he is a solid character. Kokolin, this god is really good right now, like really good. I'm putting him up here. He's the strongest warrior on the list I think we have so far. 11.6 did so much for this guy because he's gotten a few buffs since 9.5 because he was weaker for a while.
No, that Cosmos guy bragged about his
Thank you for the follow.
when we're able to try hard against Siege every game.
And Kokolin's base damage now is just overwhelming for pretty much any carry. Just so strong, dude. Like, he just has so many abilities, right? He's got his 1, his 3, his ult, and then he's got his 1, his 3, his ult again. And they buffed his 2 to where it actually, I have noticed the buff to his 2 in later levels where the Vent Anger will actually sometimes be dealing like 500 damage to somebody in the late game after I kill them. And I'll be like, what the heck? The Vent Anger is actually going crazy. And they made him move faster too, right? He's got 9% movement speed at max rank on Vent Anger. So, like, people's health being lower and the buffs that he's gotten have made Kokolin feel like a dominant force from the warrior perspective. And just in an overall perspective, this god feels really, really strong to me right now. He just does so much damage, and his transformation is just impossible to play around early from a lot of different comps. So the god is very, very good. Cupid. God's okay. I think I might even put him A+. That might be the first questionable, maybe criminal placement of the list so far, but I think Cupid is actually pretty good right now. I think he's definitely better than these four, which is why I'm putting him in A+. Because his CC is actually quite relevant. And he's really good at locking down a lot of these different tanks. Like, if you get a heart bomb onto a Kulu, for example, like, he's already feeling the pressure there. And so, like, if you've got more damage coming in from that, you drop an ult, like, you're forcing the Kulu ult, right? But the problem is you got to be in that aggressive position to be able to do that. So he needs some pressure drafted for him because he's not clearing the way very well. But he does have decent healing, and his team fight is very solid. So Cupid can actually do a lot. If Cupid is A+, then Cherry has to be A+. You might be right. You might be right. But at the same time, I think I just moved Cupid down. Yeah, never mind. I take it back. Cupid's not having a glow up. He is top of A on the hunters so far. I think he's definitely better than these hunters, but yeah, the more I look at it, the harder it is to put him on the same level as these other gods. Because his pressure is just negligible. His team fight is good. That's what it is. His team fight is very strong. His lockdown on tanks specifically is a lot better than a lot of other hunters. And when hunters can lock down tanks and deal immense damage to them, during that lockdown, that's when that hunter feels really strong. Cupid lacks a bit in the latter of that. He doesn't burst you as hard as On Her does once you get in the On Her combo. Like, you get On Her comboed as a tank late game, you're dead. You get Cupid comboed as a tank late game, you might live. It's also a little easier to survive a Cupid combo because there's a thing called Sprint and there's a thing called Winged Blade. But I think Cupid's aight. He's aight. Definitely aight. Alright. Daji. This character is aight. She's aight. I think she's one of the better assassins, but I hesitate to put her in the A+ tier. Because we really just never see her. You don't. And when you do, she seems to do okay. She has got some really good counter matchups against stuff like AMC, stuff like Thoth. You know, those non-CC immunity characters can really, really take advantage of them with Adachi, and her burst is a lot more impactful now with 11.6, right, since people have lower health. But her pressure around the wave, not great. She's a very tricky play style. She does have a non-conk buff where she takes 10% less damage. That combined with her 2, I believe, and max rank takes 40% less damage or something. So you can actually mitigate a lot with her and build her a little tanky. She does have a place in Joust. She definitely has points where you can pick her against those CC immune lacking characters, and she can be impactful. But tricky to find that impact. But if you do get into that situation where you're playing against uh, the Ulers of the world, the Thoths of the world, the Ho-Yis of the world, you can do some things with this god. No, she ain't bad. She ain't bad. How is Chang'e low? Can't she one-shot? Well, A plus is pretty high, and yes, she can one-shot, but she can also get Cerberus on. Joust is a tank-driven meta. That's the first thing you think about when you think about the characters, and when you have a number of characters in here that can just really take advantage of her and really mess her up before she gets to the point where she can go in and get that one-shot on the backliner, it gets a lot rougher. All right, Danzaburo. This character's A+. He is. He's good. I didn't want to admit it. But Donza is good right now. Big ups for your Donza believers. He has good burst. I think it's actually in your best interest to build him a little bit tanky after my testing and observing of the character. It does seem that going full damage will get you punished. Heavy. But if you build max CD on this guy, you got something like an Arc Druid, he can be very, very annoying. And he got buffed significantly. His damage is a lot more significant. I think it was his rocket got extra damage on the blow up portion. And his one, I think, got a little bit of a damage adjustment. So he actually feels pretty strong, to me at least. Donza, not bad. He does still suffer from the same problem he did before, where it's like if you get caught, like if they're aggressive onto you first and you can't get your rocket away, like he can be pretty vulnerable. But that's why you build him a bit tanky. So we're talking like you go like Jotun's Axe, and then you get like Arc Druid, and then you get defense items like Glad Shield or Genji's, and then you finish the build with like Titan's Bane or Heart Seeker type of thing. This guy can be very annoying to your backline while being incredibly hard to kill. That 15% damage reduction field that also slows you. Tough guy to kill if you can't get on him easy. Danzaburo, and when he builds defense items, gets even tougher. So he's pretty relevant right now. I never thought I'd say that, but he ain't bad. All right, Discordia. This god is decent. Very, very decent. I don't know how decent I want to say she is, but she is definitely decent. The question is if she's an A+ decent or an A decent. I think I'm going to slide her into the A for now. Because something she doesn't do versus like someone that's doing a similar thing like Baba is Disco doesn't bring as much damage as Baba. As much burst. But her passive, really nice with this 11.6 patch. She can really make somebody just to go Explodo mode on people. Like you pick a Disco and you've got like a Cullen on your team. That guy is going to be hurting. Even more than he already does. So I've always thought this, if you're like the bottom elo on your team, like say you're solo queuing Joust, and you see like names you recognize and you're like, dude, that guy's a beast, and he picks like a Cullen or something, and you're the bottom pick, you're bottom MMR, and you're like, let me lock in a Disco for this guy and let him carry me. That might just help you out a lot. So Disco is very good at enabling other members of her team, though herself a little bit less impactful, specifically in the damaging tanks department, which is something that I'm really looking for from a top mage. You're either like really just laying into those tanks, or you have like something really consistent, like Chang'e killing a backliner, or you've got like really good control, like a support mage Baron type of thing. And Disco, she's got her strengths, but she's got a lot more weaknesses than the mages above her. So we're going to leave her in the A category for now, I believe. I also kind of want to drag Afro up, but I'm going to leave her for now, too. I'm going to resist. Resisting. Sorry, emotionals. All right, Erlong Shen. This god is good. Not great, but he is definitely good and has more strengths than weaknesses. I think he's just like a tad stronger than Bologna, so I'll put him above her. His team fight is incredibly strong. He's one of those warriors that can utilize Runeforged Hammer very well. So if you play with your squad and play around the Erlong CC, it can be quite effective. He does have that 1.4 second root, I believe. 1.3 maybe? 1.3, I think, is his root. His 2. I'll go fact check that real quick. 1.5. Yeah, I'm stupid. 1.5 second root on that Erlong too. And his ult is, I believe, a similar duration, if not a scaling duration. 1.5, yep. So Erlong, very good CC chain. Very nice setup. But of course, is a bit vulnerable to your stuff like Cerberus, your stuff like Ares, your stuff like Onher's Pillar. Can be very tough for Erlong to deal with. And he's going to be trudging through stuff like Shock Rain and really annoying to play against the Bologna Disarm and whatnot. But the character offers a whole ton of setup and very decent damage. So Erlong, just a solid pick. Definitely more strengths than weaknesses. How is Shock so high? Shock feels pretty good right now, Leo. I'm not going to lie to you. After 11.6, the fact that he can get 200 protections from using his 2 is just really, really nice, I found. And his damage is relevant. Just really good ability damage. Not as good as like these guys, but very relevant. He's definitely a very above average character, I've been finding. All right, Eset. I don't know where I want to put this god. I think I want to put her in A. Right above the rest of them. She's kind of like a worse Baron to me. Her health pool is incredibly low, but her CC is incredibly high. She's an infamous counter pick to Bacchus, because she can stop his burp 2 different ways. It's just really solid lockdown. But hard for her to get up and clear the wave. Very team reliant character. But can offer a lot. I like her a little bit tankier with a supporty build. Similar to the Baron. But this character can be very, very annoying to pick. Or to play against. If you don't have the proper burst to get to her and kill her. Like, assassins are very good against her, for example. Like Camazotz. But, you pick like a really tanky comp. Like, you pick like Bacchus, Achilles. It's going to be really, really hard for you to kill any set. So she can take advantage of those types of comps, but just so naturally squishy that it's a bit easy to bully her if you pick properly around her. So we're just going to leave her in A. Charon A, not sure. What, you think he should be lower? Yeah, Charon is meh. Meh. Ogni not A+? Yeah, I wouldn't say so. Fafnir. I love Fafnir. I think Fafnir might be the best of the Guardians we've listed so far. Very strong character. He's super safe. One of the few characters that remains tanky after 11.6 because he's got his passive giving him 35 of each prot. And he's just going to lock someone down really easily for you. So if you have a talented Fafnir player on your team, if you're trying to win like as many games as possible, you are definitely top 1ing or top 2ing this god and getting him on your squad. Because he is just so strong in the team fight. Obviously, the lane pressure, not very great. But because his team fight is so good, gonna net him a very powerful position up here in the S tier. Give us an SS. We'll see if there's an SS. SS is reserved for must pick, must ban, or you lose. So those are very high requirements. And we have not ran into those just yet. Fenrir. Scott is decent again. His Brutalize is actually threatening to backliners early on because they have such low health bars now. So the Fenrir is actually feeling a bit better. But his lack of the pressure and just like other gods being better kind of just sets him back a bit. I'm tempted to put him up in A+. Because he is like, he's decent. His damage is decent. Very decent. Hi, kitty. On a scale of 1 to 10, how troll is Tank Artemis for Blink Ult Engage? It's not bad, but you can pick a different god. That'll be way better. All right, moving on. Freya. I think Freya's okay. She's not terrible. You have to respect her damage. You really do. And she's harder to dive than your Opwashes and your Anubises of the world. So I'm going to put her in A just because she has such good damage. But she is not the hardest god to lock down. You just have to pick the right stuff. Like, she's one of those ones where, once again, if you go, like, too tanky against her, she could just pack you up. Just, like, turn the fight on its head. Like, if you're diving, like, the same example I gave last time, you're diving her with, like, Achilles Bacchus, and she survives the dive, and there's, like, an Atlas on her team to turn it with her, you're just going to get schmelted. So I think she's all right. Ganesh. Scott is A+. Solid character. Put him alongside Cabrakan. Because they kind of fall into the same boat for me. Where it's like, I feel like they should just be so overwhelmingly good. Because their just CC is so annoying and their setup is so good. But they just, for one reason or another, seem to fall short in my experience. So, we're going to be leaving the Ganesh up here. Strong character with really amazing CC. Really good anti-dive. But he's kind of like Atlas, in where he needs like a +1 to do some work for him before he does his thing. So that's kind of what sets him a little bit more into the background. And isn't like, he can't like force the fight as well as like a Cerberus or like an Ares can or a Bacchus. He's more of like a follow-upper. But he does it very well. So if you get him in the right position, he can be very strong. Dr. Wrecker, thank you for the gifted sub. Appreciate it. All right. GG's, man. Dr. Wrecker. Yeah, I remember the game. That was a good game. The Masters Border Maui. All right, Geb. This god is okay. He's A-okay. Very middle of the pack guardian. Doesn't pressure very well, but has good peel for very particular comps. Like the Najas of the world, the Circuits of the world, the Fenrirs of the world. Pretty good anti-diver, so you're liking him against a lot of different assassins. But he himself isn't bringing much pressure for you, and in Joust, you want to be the one on the aggressive, if at all possible. So you will typically not want to be Geb. So he's just going to be down here in the A. Gilgamesh. Hmm. This is either an A or an A+ god. And I think he's an A'er. Please, let me move you. Athena is I. Or, yeah. Anyway, Gilgamesh is also I. He just doesn't provide the same level of damage that I want from him. And his early presence is not that great. And he's got to get pretty close to do his thing, which a lot of these warriors do, but like he's just not offering as much as these other guys above him. Like Bologna's got better early presence, Erlang's got better, more consistent setup, Shock's got similar thing, more damage, Achilles better sustain, better damage, better pressure, Amma way stronger mid to late, and Kokolin's got 5 million abilities. Can't compare to that. So Gilgamesh is he's just all right. He was a character that got nerfed like a billion times in his past. That's kind of made him a little lackluster in comparison to some higher ranking warriors in my opinion. So I'm going to leave him down here in the A category. He's okay. He's got decent CC. That can be a bit inconsistent. He's got good survivability, but he's just not on the same playing field as a lot of these different warriors. This guy, on the other hand, ooh, is Guan an S character or is Guan an A+ character, folks? What are you guys thinking? I want to put him in the S category, to be honest. Maybe like a bottom S'er. We got an A plus, we got an S, we got an S. I'm gonna drop him in the bottom of the Sers for now. Very low early pressure, but his team fight, mid game and late game are incredible. Guan Yu did take a little bit of a hit, especially in the early game with the 11.6, because he's just so easy to kill, and his early game is his weakest. So you can really take a bit more advantage of him. Like, yeah, you just don't want to play Guan Yu into stuff like Serb and whatnot, but this god is just very consistent. His ult being so easily abusable, just having it up all the time is just really, really good. Like, with full CDR, you can easily have your ult up before your Pridwin comes off cooldown with Guan Yu. And his healing is just so obnoxiously good. Like, if you're playing a poke game, Guan Yu is definitely a god that you want on your team. And if you need to dive, even better. Hachiman! This character has fallen a bit. He has. He is out of the top tier hunters, I would say. But he hasn't fallen that far. I'm going to put him A+. I think he's still a solid character if you just need someone to be safe and deal good damage. And that's exactly what he does. Safe, deals good damage, has good clear, but his ult is a 1-10-second cooldown. And he isn't bursting it quite as heavily anymore as some of the top tier bursters, but he's got good range and, like I said, really good safety. So he'll be A+. Hades? This god isn't terrible, but he definitely isn't good. I want to put him in A, but I think he's a little bit worse than these other mages. So we'll drop him down in the B tier for now, but definitely better than these other three. I actually played with the Hades yesterday, and he did all right, actually. It was a little bit more of a closer game, too, and he performed well. So I was proud of him. But Hades is definitely not, like, ever a god that I'm thinking, wow, Hades could be really, really strong here. Versus some of these mages, I am thinking that. So, for that reason, he's going to drop into the B, a little below average. Just all right. He's just missing that oomph, you know? Kind of like Hebo. Hebo, I think, does feel a little bit better after 11.6 because he can actually kill people a little easier. But he also gets killed a lot easier. So for that reason, we're going to put him down here. Hebo is one of the best mages post-ban pre-revert before the changes. I think it's been a long, long time before that he was really top. But Hebo, I think the biggest thing for Hebo is his water cannon a long time ago got nerfed to 4-second cooldown when it was 3. Because of the combination of Bountiful Bow and Horn Shard, making it so you could just spam his one so much. And Bountiful Bow went away, and Hebo stayed nerfed. He's also had some damage adjustments that have just made him hit a lot lower, but yeah, he is not amazing to me. He might be an A-worthy character. I have seen a Tire actually played him the other day when we were going on our troll game session, and he got like 16 kills and 3 deaths or something. But yeah, it wasn't really being like, oh wow, Hebo is really going crazy here at any point during that. All right, Heimdall. Ooh, I'm gonna put Heimdall bottom of A. I think he's playable. Playable, but I don't really want him very often. He's another one of those characters. He's kind of like Charybdis, where it's just like he's safe. He can just be that guy that lives if you need him to be. And his damage is very relevant late game. But definitely I'm not looking towards priority picking a Heimdall ever. So we're just going to leave him here because he's got good damage late. He can play safe. And sometimes that's all you need out of your backliner. I literally just need you to be alive and we will take care of the rest. A good Heimdall player can make that happen. Hell. Top of A. Arguable A+. This character has very, very strong early presence. Clears waves very well. Kills people very well. Very strong sustain. Can actually go positive on the mana consumption when she heals her teammates if she uses her Light Stance 1. But she is so squishy. If they have any way to dive you, you are dead. So we're going to leave Hell in A, but the top of these, because she just has such obnoxiously strong pressure, if you can get her into a position where you have pressure, this god will feel a little bit unstoppable. And she'll just be like throwing abilities through the wall, hitting you as a carry for 600 with 2 items. So that would hurt. But yeah, not the strongest character because you can abuse her a bit. Hera. I think Hera's in about the same spot as Hell. Not for the same reasons, but she's got damage. Put her a little further down this list. Put her right above Freya. She got damage. If they can't kill Argus very easily, she can be effective, but even though she has a good number of tools to survive dive, a lot of the time she still dies to it. So I'm not loving the Hera. She's going to need some upward adjustments to be stronger in my eyes. She did get a buff to her 1. What is it, a 6-second cooldown now, or is it an 8-second? She got a 2-second reduction on it in the latest bonus patch. Oh, wait, it doesn't say in the ability description. It says 10, but I think it's 8 now. So Hera's 1 is actually up pretty often. She's been getting small buffs over the last few patches, and I think that if she gets enough, she'll actually be strong, but for now, she's just okay. Hercules. I think this god feels a lot better after 11.6. He's either bottom of S or top of A+. Oh, I want to say he's bottom of S. Because this god is really, really strong in the early game. A+, you feel like? You think so? Yeah, I'd be okay with putting a Hercules either one. Let's get through the description and then we'll see what we really think. Because Hercules' early game is incredibly dominant. Incredibly dominant. This guy just hits so hard early with 11.6. Like, he just actually just one-shots you if you're a squishy. And if you get pulled back into the enemy minion wave as a tank even, you're dead with a Hercules there. So he's just very, very threatening early. And late game, the whole thing with Hercules is you just blink a carry, blast him with your 1-4-2, and then you run away. Because you take 60% of their health. But now, you blink on a carry late game, blast them with your 1-4-2, and they're like 20% health, or they're dead. So, he's pretty dangerous. But the downfall of Hercules, especially in the late game, as it always has been, is that he doesn't beat you as hard as he did early game. He has to put himself out of position to do that combo, the 1-2-4, because he has to commit his escape ability, right? And his range is negligible, right? Very close range character, this guy. So he's not poking you like an Achilles is. He's not out sustaining you with Guan Yu heals. He's not, he doesn't have 6 abilities like Kakulin. He's not going to chop you down like Amma is. So, in that regard, it does make him a little weaker, and is going to make me put him at the top of A+. He does have a bit better kill potential, particularly early on, than these other 3. That really just wants me to juggle him somewhere between here and the bottom here, but he's just so nice for those early kills. And can really snowball a game, and it can get out of hand very quickly against Hercules. So he's a very, very dangerous character. Horus. Horus is in a similar boat to these A+ers. I'm going to put him just below Hercules. Very strong early presence. Really, really good lockdown on a single target, which is quite impactful in 11.6 because people just die so quickly early on, and Horus is a very good enabler for your backline to just insta-kill someone. A Horus 2 into a updraft with his 1, followed by some Medusa basic attacks, will kill any target level 3. So, very dangerous character to play against, and he's quite safe too, and quite tanky himself with his passive. Dash in, knock him up, and he can jump out. Circedo Cyrus Kuzmo is the only SS prediction. That's not a bad one at all, Baneful. Thank you very much for the 4 months. Appreciate you. So yeah, Horus is pretty dangerous. Pretty strong character. Very underplayed because he's very team reliant. And so, like, unless you have a lot of coordination, a little harder to make him work. But you can like move minions around the map and siege towers when people leave much more easily. Like maybe you back when the minions are like starting to come out the base and they're like, you know, just about to reach your own tower, but then the Horus like sends his minions to your tower real fast and then you lose your tower because you backed. You're like, oh shoot, forgot he could do that. Or he like teleports to the Bull Demon King and jumps you when you guys are trying to get it, or goes on your Titan when it's already like lost a few thousand health, and he just teleports his whole team in there. Like he's very dangerous. This Horus guy can get pretty creative with him. He's a very, very cool character. Hou Yi. Hou Yi is going to go right up here with On Her. A lot of people might not agree with this, but I still think that Hou Yi is and always will be probably one of the most annoying hunters to play against as a frontliner, because this guy just always kills you for one misstep. It is the most annoying thing ever, and I hate it, and I will always hate it, and I will always give Hou Yi respect. I'll give him his flowers. His clear, bad. Very, very bad. His poke can be good. You get a big bounce, can be very nice. So his pressure, not great. Same with On Her. But their team fights and their ability to lock down one target and really explode them, it just makes these characters so annoyingly good against tanks. So we'll do that. Hoonbots. This character is strong. I'm going to put him A+. Kills people a lot more consistently, just like any other assassin after 11.6. And he's very, very slippery. Not as slippery as Camazotz, but very slippery with his 3 and his jump. Because you can get in with your 3, you can get in with your blink and drop an ult, and then of course they can't hit you during that ult, so you're outputting a lot of damage, taking them down. The only thing is the natural squishiness can let him down a bit. So, and if they have good poke against you, that can feel really terrible. Because if they just never give you that blink engage that you're looking for, and they're just like Osiris sickling you off cooldown, they're Achilles 3ing you and 1ing you off cooldown, the Guan Yu is running at you, he's not a target that you really want to go on, so he's just poking you out. Like, it can get really annoying to be a Hoonbots at times, but he is very effective when you find the right position and you can get a good engage onto the enemy backliners particularly. And even the frontliners, if you have your teammates with you, like you're typically probably going to run like a Hoonbots with a mage and a guardian. And if you've got good lockdown for that guy, or good damage for that guy off of the Hoonbots ult, you can burst pretty much any target. And like we were saying, with 11.6, anyone can die early on in the game. So that level 5 spike, Hoonbots has one of the best ults around that red buff. Having it hit for 50 damage base a tick on that ult. An old buff for the botser. Pretty crazy strong level 1 ult. Ishtar. This god is an A. She's alright. She's got a little bit more damage. Pretty powerful teamfight presence. More so than a lot of these other guys in the tier. But what she has there, she lacks in survivability. Pretty easy to poke an Ishtar out. Pretty easy to get on an Ishtar and make her life really tough. Can get interrupted very easily on that dash. So, can get abused a bit. And so she's not going to be as strong as some of these guys above her, which are a little bit safer and do their damage more consistently. But she's not bad. Ishel. Alright, Ishel. This was like a top mage. 11.5. But I have not been finding her to be as strong, 11.6. However, I think I'm going to drop her bottom of A+. Because she has very good damage. Incredibly good damage, you could say. Bottom of A+ or top of A is where I'd put her. Because this god is very killable, but her damage is very, very, very strong still. You just have to protect her, which is the tough part. Her health pool is just so small that if you get dove by even one of these warriors now with Archdruid Fury, she'll get smelted. She will. And if you get dove by an assassin like Kama, then it's just over. Because you can't hit him back. And he will always hit you. So that can be a bit of a tough matchup. But her damage is just like Shell said, very viable. She's very relevant. She does good, really, really good damage. You combine her with something like a Mulan, which was a combo that I was running with a tire for a bit. The Mulan grapple into the E-Shell combo will pretty much kill anyone at any stage of the game. So, pretty powerful. Put Izanami SS. Nah, I'm good. You know where I am going to put Izanami is I'm going to put her bottom of A. That might be criminal to some people, but I don't think Izanami is that bad. She's definitely not that good, but she is not that bad. Her damage against tanks is actually quite relevant. So, you can put her in a position, or she just kind of like a worse on her or Hou-Yi. Better than Artemis? I would say so, yeah. She really is just like a budget on her or Hou-Yi to me, because she hits not as hard, but pretty close. She's got good clear that she can't really utilize unless that you have pressure already. And she's got decent safety. But, you know, she's just worse than these guys because she doesn't have the same kind of CC and fight pressure that they can bring. So she's a bit worse. But her damage is very, very relevant against tanks. And she has some good matchups into some of these higher characters like Kabrak, and she can break the wall very easily, right? But you just have to play like a coward. That's how a lot of these A hunters operate. That's kind of how like most of the hunters operate in general, is you just have to play like a coward and then just take your spots or pick your spots carefully. But if you do pick your spots carefully, then you can have a big impact. All right. Janice. This is an A god. He's not terrible. He's okay. He can kind of one-shot backliners, but he just does it worse than Chang'e. He can set up his tanks. I think that's a big one. He can kind of like provide a free blink to your tanks. He can do like kind of that surprise stuff that like Horus can do with his ult, but he can do it with his portal. So Janus is actually kind of good in that respect. Now the problem is he has a really tough time killing tanks. He is quite a bit stronger after 11.6 because he can, you know, kill people a bit faster, and he doesn't have abilities very often that are going to hit for really heavy damage. So he ain't bad. He definitely ain't bad, but he's pretty easy to poke out. And like I said, he struggles killing tanks, particularly late game. So you got to be real creative with him to be effective, but you can find that effectiveness on the Janus. Jingwei. Ooh. This is another character that lives. And the characters that live, we've been putting in A. So I don't think I'm going to change it up now. Once again, similar to Charybdis, similar to Heimdall, Jingwei is a character that you pick when the only constraint you're looking to meet is I need this guy to be alive. So you're playing against Atlas, you're playing against Bacchus, stuff that's going to knock you up. You're playing against Sobek. That's a good time to pick a Jingwei. You're playing against Cucullin. That's an okay time to pick a Jingwei, but he might just kill you anyway because he does too much damage. But those Guardians, particularly good matchups. Hercules, you can survive a Hercules. So when you're just letting your frontline do their thing, and they say we can win the game without you even being there, we just need you to be alive to push the structure, Jingwei is a perfectly fine pick. Jormungandr. I think this guy's alright. I'm going to put him bottom of A+. His damage, really relevant. So he's got good clear, good pressure, but he can be abused a little bit if you have the proper hard CC to get on him. Like a Sobek is kind of a terrible matchup for Yorm, or can be a terrible matchup if you have the proper follow-up tools, because the Sobek can be proccing your passive very easily, will slow you down and make you take extra damage, kind of like Sunders yourself, and really burst you. But if you can maintain pressure, which is the of utmost importance in Joust, you can find effectiveness with this Jormungandr pick. Kali. Character got an adjustment recently that's made her a bit stronger, but I think she's still A material. She's okay. She's got good burst, can kill people a little faster. I think Hydra's crit is actually the build you want to go if you're going to play Kali and Joust. Because it actually can take people by surprise and you just blink in and one-shot their carries. But they need to not have very good coordination for you to pull that off. Like, if I see a Kali, I'm thinking Kumbhakarna immediately. So, against these assassins in particular, you want that heavy peel. So if you have that heavy peel, it can make it a lot harder for a Kali to play. And there is a character that is Kali's biggest counter that may just be running the top of the list coming soon. So, yeah, she's not feeling good. Luke would go crazy on that god and Jazz. Yeah, Luke's good on the Kali.
Disappear
Very good.
into the cosmos.
Kepri. Kepri, I want to put bottom of A+, but I will choke it up and drop him in the top of A. Because literally nobody plays this dude. He's okay. He's just okay. Saving people's lives is cool and all. Fitting that he goes right next to Geb. He's got a lot of really good CC. If you read Kepri's abilities, this guy actually has like 4 of the highest impact abilities in Smite. Like, they're all just really insanely good. But it's just like the fact that he's been nerfed 50 billion times and the cooldowns are really long and, you know, he just gets get pushed around a bit by a lot of these characters and he'll die faster now with 11.6. That kind of sets him back a bit. But I always want Kepri to be good. It's just, they just can't let him be that good these days. But he's not bad. He's pickable. King Arthur. I'm gonna put King Arthur bottom of A+. This god is a lot better than he used to be. He's kind of like a worse Cucullin. Because he does a lot of damage, but his early presence is negligible. And he's not operational as often as Cucullin is. Like, Cucullin is top here because he just dominates the field of warriors. And he just has damage all the time. And that transform comes so often. King Arthur has to play around the energy more. You die as King Arthur. You come back with no energy, you are doomed for so long because it takes a while to build that up. Versus Cucullin, where if I get into a team fight immediately after spawn, I can actually get to that transform, depending on, like, you know, how much fighting is actually occurring. But King Arthur just takes a while to get it ready. But when it is ready, it can be quite good, and his burst is quite effective post 11.6 with all those lower health bars. Kukulkan. Scott has fallen. He is A solid A. I'll put him top A. We'll put him here. And I'm going to shift hell down, actually. Or here. Yeah, Kukulkan, he's an okay god. Clears waves. Has really solid follow-up. If all the other options are banned, you could pick him to finish off your Naja Ganesh comp. In fact, I played against that earlier today. But he just feels a little bit lackluster. In my opinion, it kind of seems like because he's a bit of a more slower-paced god than some of these better mages. And like in a Doom Orb meta, like he still wants to build Book of Thoth because it's so good on him. And he just doesn't feel that effective. Or as effective as he did a number of patches ago. Like last season type of number of patches ago. So he's gone down to A a bit. Gilgamesh is 100% A plus or more. You think so? I don't. Alright, Kumbhakarna. I think this god ain't bad, but I'm going to put him top A. There's a whole ton of CC and a whole lot of no damage. But he can be picked very well into a lot of these different assassins, particularly because he's just a really heavy peel god. And he's just kind of like a god that you'd pick to finish your team when you have proper targets against you that you want to get on. But he can be very, very annoying and hard to kill. Just like a Blink Mez is just going to really screw up a lot of backlines come the late game. All right. Kuzenbo. Boy, oh boy. If it isn't the Kuzenbona. What do you think, guys? Are we SS or are we top of S? We're SS. We are. I'm here for it. Kuzenbo was a top performing Guardian long before 11.6. And now, with 11.6 in, this god runs rampant. He is on my permaban list. I ban Kuzenbo, Ares, and Sobek probably the most often out of any gods in this game mode. And Kuzenbo is definitely the one I want gone the most. He has like 2 counter matchups in the tank category at least. He's got Ares and he's got Artio because they cripple his dash. And the latter is not as effective as the former. Ares, very, very good against Kuzenbo. But if Ares is out of the picture, this god will probably dominate the lobby. Because there's just nobody that can stand up to him. And he's going to solo any backliner that you pick. And if you pick triple frontline, he's going to kill them too. So, Kuzenbo is just a little bit too strong right now in Joust, in my opinion. Because he just does too much. He really does. He's got good pressure. He's absurdly tanky. And he's going to solo any squishy come the late game. He will get on them, and he will stay on them. And you will not be able to peel him off unless you have an Ares. So Kuzenbo is just he's just the end all be all right now in the Jazz game mode. A little bit too strong. We don't want to let that guy through. Lancelot. I had a stint of Lancelotting where I had a lot of fun on this god. And I think he is A+. He's just under bots. He's got really solid burst, just like the botser. Doesn't offer very much in the clear department, just like the botser. And his damage when he dives is very strong, just like the botser. The only thing that's holding him back is, that natural tankiness yet again. It's going to keep him held down by some of our tankier guys that can just run at him. And also Sunder is this guy's worst nightmare because the Sunder will take, I believe it's 80% of the shield on his horse, and then Sunder also deals base damage, right? So it'll take you off your horse entirely. And so unless you predict the Sunder and you cancel your horse or you jump off the horse, then the Sunder will be taking your whole shield, and you're feeling kind of painful at the Lancelot. And then, of course, you always have to worry about just getting poked when you're this god because you don't have much poke back. So you really just want to pick him when you're trying to dive heavily and you need like a heavy damage burster character to do that. All right. Loki. Solid A. Not great. Not bad. But not great. Good, really solid late game damage. Really annoying with the bluestone, but negligible early pressure. Similar to a lot of assassins, you can kind of poke him out. And his team fight isn't quite as strong as these assassins above him. So he's just okay. Maman Brigitte. Don't pick this god. She is bad in Joust. You're welcome. Marty. Ooh. This is a tricky one. Huh. He's either here or he's here. Marty's build is in one of the better spots that it's been in. Because you go Jotuns, Soul Eater, and the Duality build. You can go Titan's Bane next, or you can go Crusher next. And then you go Heartseeker Duality with Bluestone Brooch. Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Marty is one of my favorite hunters to play in Joust. When I am playing a hunter, which is not super often. Oh, man, it's a tough one. You think top of A+? You might just be right. I think he does have a leg up on Chiron, but he is a leg down on these other bursters. But he's a very, very dangerous, this Marty dude. He is very, very good. Yeah, we'll leave him top of A+ here. Very, very strong ability hunter right now. Ability hunters, like I've said with Chiron, are a little bit stronger after 11.6. So he's just killing people a little faster, and he has really, really safe clear. And then the bushes can help set up, as well. And he's just a safe god in general, because he can ult. And he can flex with a blink instead of an Aegis with his beads. And really put a lot of pressure on enemy backliners. Don't always do that, but there are a lot of opportunities for you to do that, where it'll feel really strong as a Marty. But of course, you're always struggling against those slows, those ever-present slows, the Frostbound Hammers, the Horrifics, the Osirises, and then the Cucullins are probably killing you before you kill them, so that feels bad. The Midgards, exactly. All right, Maui. Maui is either a better than Bake or a worse than Charon. I'm thinking he might be a worse than Charon. Yep, he's a worse than Charon. This god is, he's kind of like Kepri and Goomba, where he's got decent CC, or, well, less CC than them. He does a little bit more damage than them. And he actually got buffed recently. His jump is a 1.5 second stun at all ranks, which is kind of cool. But he isn't very good. He's okay. He's very okay, Maui. He needs somebody else to be doing stuff for him to do his stuff. Similar to a Kepri. Similar to a Geb. So, it's just aight. Oh, baby, guys. If it isn't the best hunter in Smite, Medusa. I'm not going to put her in SS, because I don't think she's a must-pick, must-ban. But she is definitely the best hunter in the game right now. By a decent margin. Really good clear, and her kill pressure at all points of the game is bar none the most consistent out of all others in the class. They gave her a one too many buffs to both her mana cost and her damage output in the recent patches that have just made her a little bit too strong, and she was always the kill early god. Always. Viper Shot was always that ability. But now her 1 and her 2 are both really low mana cost, and people are squishier. So Medusa is just pounding people. I think what's really doing it is two things. Her ult, they buffed it too many times, and her 1. They increased the damage of her Viper Shots a while ago, and she just hits too hard, man. Way too hard. Without the flat pen builds that you can go, like I was saying, the Jotuns and the Soul Eater. And then you can even get a Transcendence if you want, but I think Transcendence is kind of out of the build right now. Medusa just hits way too hard. There are some tanks that can take her on, which is going to, in my mind, put her just a little below the SS, like must pick, must ban character. Like, I let Medusa through pretty much every game. Like, I'm fine playing against her. But, gosh, darn it, she is so good. Alright. Mercury. Yeah, don't play this guy. I actually won a game with Mercury the other day. It was a little closer. Tank? Yeah, I'd say you build a little bit. You don't build full tank, but you do build him mostly tank. And he can be aight. But I'm gonna put him down here. I think he's less alright than these other ones. Why are you banning my Crucible? Work with the Gilga or the Amma build? No, I don't think I would do that. Medusa, not SS, is criminal. In another game mode, probably so, but in Joust, I think that the game mode is so... It starts so much with the tanks, and there are things that can beat a Medusa. There are plenty of things that can beat a Medusa in the tank category. So I can't put her half to pick, half to ban. Alright. Merlin. Merlin is okay. He's just okay. A little bit better with 11.6 because people have less health. And Merlin is looking to just hit him with one stance, switch to the other, and kill him with the other stance quickly. But it takes him a while to get there. That double flat Mirrodin Shard build does favor him. Good build for him with the Doom Orb. But it's just not as good as some other mages can be. But I will put him high in the A tier because I do think that his burst is really solid. Really solid, it can be. You build him and play him correctly. Morgan Le Fay is kind of a better Merlin. I'm going to put her We're gonna put her second. We'll put her at the top here, actually. Best mage so far, I think. She does a lot of damage. Definitely underplayed character. People aren't playing mages as much in general. And when they are, they're playing some wacky stuff, that, from what I've seen at least. But Morgan Le Fay is a very strong character right now. She hurts a lot, and she's got really solid self-peel, and she can play her distance very well. There are plenty of characters that can get on her and end her life quickly. But if you adjust properly to the 11.6 changes, you can play a similar fashion with the Morgan Le Fay as you did before, and just, just watch your space a little bit more carefully and do a lot. Mulan. I think Mulan is the best warrior in the game right now. Definitely. She's been buffed a little bit too much. It only took 50 buffs, but she did make it. The latest adjustment to her 3, allowing her to redirect while aiming, in my opinion, has made her the strongest warrior in the game. Because her damage is so relevant, her early pressure is so relevant. And she kind of like Herc pulls you to her team with one ability on a 13-second cooldown that resets to 11 because of her passive. And then you're getting pulled all the time, and then you're in pain. And if they have any follow-up, you are not feeling good. So Mulan has just a slew of really, really positive matchups. And she's kind of just like a better Ne Zha to me in the present moment. Because she's tanky, and her sash is easier and more effective. You guys really think Medusa's SS? Well, just judging off of my ranked picks and bans, from my experience, I can't put her there because I don't want to pick and ban her every single game. Like, I don't think that she's beyond the point where I just can't beat her if they pick her. So, I'm going to leave her there. But your experience is your experience. Your reality is your reality. If you can't beat Medusa, then you can't beat Medusa. She's SS to you. All right, Ne Zha. This is an A+ character. He is not the top star of the show anymore. Put him above Lancelot. But, that being said, if you have good coordination and you pick the right combination with likely a mage in the back with heavy burst, Ne Zha is a little better now. Because at level 5, any target will die from a Ne Zha plus a Scylla combo, a Ne Zha plus a Ra combo, a Ne Zha plus even a Soul combo, a Ne Zha plus a Vulcan combo. There are a lot of different gods that can do it. So, Ne Zha, quite a bit better, but not because he's better, because his follow-up will kill earlier and on most targets. So I'm going to put Ne Zha in the A+ category, but he is still so squishy and so abusable in the early that I can't put him too much higher than that. Tanks need a buff, actually. All right, on to the Neith. I think Neith is not good. Definitely not good. I'm going to put her in B. She is down here with Artemis. Every time I look at Artemis, I kind of want to move her up a little bit, and I think I'm going to. I don't think she deserves to be down here with Neith. Artemis is better than Neith. She is. Neith is too predictable. Her burst is not significant enough to get through these tanks early on. And she is just not a great pick. She is not. She's not going to shred the tanks. And she's not anywhere close to a Chiron level of helping your tanks when they're diving. Nemesis. This is an A+ god. This is a very underplayed A+ god. Her burst, very relevant. Good survivability. Makes tanks more killable. Nemesis is a solid selection right now for our assassin players. She doesn't bring a whole ton of pressure around the wave, but once you get that first item, you can go like Blackthorn Sigil or Blackthorn Axe or even Jotun's Axe, depending on matchups. And you have your 2 up very, very often on this god, and it hits for 200 to 300 damage from, ranks 3 on. And on a squishy, that thing is going to be hitting for 400. So, and she has it up so often because of her non-conquest buff that gives her cooldown reduction on her non-ultimate abilities 10%. So she's just 2-ing you every 6 seconds, every 7 seconds. And that gets real annoying real quick. So I think Nemesis is pretty good. Gotta be careful around a Nemesis. Alright. Nike. This god is okay. He's okay. Very okay. Do I have any warriors in A yet? Yeah, I'm gonna put her above Gilgamesh. I think Nike is just alright. She's annoying, has a lot of good matchups. Good into most hunters because they can't interrupt her too. And then, of course, she's blocking their basic attacks. Like one of the mainstay X-ball counters in the 1v1. But she's kind of moving very slow and standing very still when she's doing that. So if the X-ball has any CC on his team, it might not work out. Like if it's an X-ball Fafnir, he's just going to hammer you. And then you're, losing half your health. So Nike is she's just all right. She's solid. A solid A. She's not doing as much as the other guys above her, but not bad. Nox. This god's pretty bad. Pretty bad. Even built like a tank. I think tank is her best build. And even when she does that, I think she's just average. Now that I'm looking at this, I think Agni deserves to go up a little bit here. You're welcome. I do think he's a little bit better than these other ones that we're stacking up. All right, Nuwa. This god is still quite bad in Joust. But how bad? Hebo bad? Hades bad? Bottom of A bad. That's what she is. She's not great. It's weird though, because you think Nuwa would be good because she's got really solid tank damage. Because she got that shred. And you'd think she'd be able to get away from dive. Because she does have a stun to get them off, and she's got that I leave the battleground for a few seconds. Yeah, she's definitely annoying. But there's just something about her that just isn't as impactful as these mages that are pumping out damage early and often. And I think that's what really makes Nuwa not as great as these other mages. They're like spam mages are the better mages. They just start smacking you a lot. And Nuwa has that one combo every, 10 seconds. Newt! I think this is our first bee hunter. Oh, no. Second bee hunter. No pressure. Low range. Good teamfight ult. That doesn't really hit that hard. She's just okay. Forgot she was even in the game. Yeah, she's not very good. But she's better than Apollo. Heck, Apollo. All right, moving on. We've got Odin. Oh, yes. This is a very strong character. I ban him a good amount of the time, actually. I'm going to put him up here just above Guan in the S tier. His 3. Very annoying to play against. One thing to note is Odin has very low base stats. So he actually is pretty killable early on. But if you level his 3 and you just save your 2 and your 1 for when you actually need it, Odin can be quite annoying and engage on you from afar. He's kind of like a slightly budget Mulan. Because his, like her 3 beats his 3, but he's got a cage. And, it's actually like, it's a weird matchup, Odin Mulan, because she can grab his 3, but he can also cage her in. And if there's proper follow-up, it's really annoyingly hard to survive as Mulan. So Odin is pretty darn strong. Can just play off Runeforged procs and just 3 people. Hit a quick, easy stun. And then your team just like wails on him with a few abilities. And then you reset and do it again. Oleron. This god is not bad. I'm going to put him top of A. Good pressure. But easy to kill. Really easy to kill. Guan. Gamma, Serb, dropping an Atlas ult in his ult, dropping a Hoon Bot's ult in his ult. There are a lot of different ways to kill an all run. Long duration CC immunities and just upfront burst just hurts him a little bit too much. But if you can get into that position of aggression with him, get the pressure going, he can get the game to end very quickly, kind of like a hell. But it's just too easy to shut him down. Even Vamana kills all around. Osiris. Ah, shoot. Ah, heckin' shootin', darn it. I really just said that Mulan was the top warrior, didn't I? Huh. Might have to revise that statement. This is my favorite warrior to play in Joust. And I actually would like to play him more than Mulan. I am predominantly a warrior player when I play Joust these days. And if I have to take the choice between Mulan and Osiris, I'm picking Osiris every time. Oh! Don't be biased? That's the whole point of this list! To be biased! And to put together my opinion so you guys can be like, oh, this guy does well in Joust. He knows what he's talking about, and this is what he thinks of the game mode. Alright, I'll put Osiris under Mulan. You guys win. For most people, I guess that is true. I, like I said, prefer Osiris to Mulan. Because I find Osiris more unpunishable than Mulan. I'll explain my case. Osiris has 16% of each mitts, physical and magical. Has really consistent poke. CC is low, of course. But he has better safety than Mulan. Much harder to punish an Osiris than it is to punish Mulan. When I think of Mulan, characters that can punish her, I think stuff like Atlas. Because if you grab someone and then you get grabbed back, that feels pretty bad. But if I get grabbed as Osiris, I mean, I'm just so tanky. I don't really care that much. Though, I had found in one of my recent Osiris games that Atlas is one of the more annoying matchups for him. So, that's definitely something to consider. But, yeah, like I said, I like Osiris better, but this god is just so good. So powerful. Really strong pressure, really strong poke. Has it up really often. Can be a real annoyance and a thorn in the side to pretty much every carry character in the game, while being able to do it relatively freely. Like Anhur and Hoi, although they can kill him in the all-in fight relatively consistently, the Osiris can just hit him with ones and twos for a long time, and they can't like range poke him back, right? So you're gonna need some help to deal with that. And Osiris he's just my favorite god to play in the game mode, man. I don't know what to tell you. Osiris is better than Mulan? Yeah, I think so, but I don't know. We'll just leave it there, all right? We're not going to talk about it anymore. Yash, nice list. Thank you, man. Nice cack. Anyway, on to the Pele. We're going to drop her down into the... it's either bottom of A or top of B. And I don't think she's as bad as those other guys, because her early game is actually pretty strong. So I'm going to put her bottom of A. She does good damage. She has decent clear, but she gets sat on by stuff that's just naturally tankier than her and just has high base numbers. So, like, almost every single warrior. So that feels pretty bad for her, which is why she's just going to be an A-OK pick. Not really loving the Pele, but, you know, maybe once in a while I see an opening and I'll go for it. Like, they pick an assassin themselves that I can beat with a Pele. Like, they pick, like, a Loki or something. Like, Pele's got a pretty okay matchup into a Loki. I'll go Pele. For 70. This god is feeling bottom of A+ for me. A lot of damage all the time, but can feel a little bit finicky in my experience. You gotta wait for your plants to grow type of thing, or you have to commit your jump to keep going in there, but her damage is relevant. Relatively easy character to dive with the proper assassin mainly, though a lot of warriors can now kill her. So, well, we'll give her a bottom of A+. She's alright. She's AO good. She's very pickable. Poseidon. I don't ever want somebody on my team picking Poseidon. I really, really don't. I'm gonna put him top of B. God has really fallen from grace since oh my god, no way I'm saying Poseidon is worse than Nuwa. Yeah, Nuwa, you're coming down here. Alright. Alright. Sorry. Had to do that. Ra. Oh wait, I never finished Poseidon yet. He's just not great, guys. Really easy to kill. I think he might actually be the lowest base health mage in the game. Like this dude is like obnoxiously squishy. Like him and Zeus are just like so squishy. They're just too easy to kill, man. And their burst, although it can be good, like you don't get to the burst part if you just die. So we're gonna leave that. Raw. I'm gonna put Raw bottom of A plus here with Persephone. He's relatively easy to die, but this god after 11.6 actually just smokes you with his one and his ult. So he just needs a little bit of setup from a jaw perhaps, or just like any stun, and this god actually can light you up quick. Like level 5, you get like you throw a Surtur rock at someone, bonk, raw one ult, that guy dies. He could be a Bacchus. He'll die. The raw combo hurts, man. So much. Alright, Raijin? I think another character that I think I'm gonna put down to this A plus category, just dangle him a little low. I'm gonna put him just above E Shell actually. He has really solid burst, and he's a decently safe character. Doesn't have as much range as some of these other mages, like Morgan and Baba, which makes him a little bit more punishable. But he does have a whole ton of CC that makes it really annoying to dive as a frontliner. Though, as we've been talking about, it is a little easier for the frontliners to kill him than it was before. So Raijin, I think he's a decent character. Good. Got good damage and decent survivability, but you can't just play willy-nilly. Rom. This god is not good. This god might just be Neath level, guys. He might just. In Joust, specifically. I kind of feel like he's a little better than these guys. But I don't think he's as good as these guys. So I can't say that. I just can't. ESET is A plus, super cap. If I was judging this list off of the ESET gameplay I've seen in ranked Joust, I would definitely have to put her lower. Sorry. All right, Rat. We're gonna put him A, top of A. Top of A. I think Rat isn't that bad, but I don't think he's the same level as these guys. So I'll leave him A. He's just okay. He's okay. You don't see a lot of Rat players these days, and if I'm thinking about it, I don't think he's having as much impact as these other guys. So well, let's put him top A because I do think he's a little bit better than these dudes. So I think like Rat, Kali, and Fenrir can be in a similar pocket. Like if there was like an in between, that's where they would be. Robin. I think he's in a similar position to those three I just talked about. Rat, Kali, and Fenrir. He's good. He can dive. But you need the right scenario. You need like the perfect scenario. So he got good burst on the backline. Not bad. All right. But he gets pressured out. That's the big thing. A big thing with these assassins is the counterpart of the assassin that people are going to be picking if they don't pick an assassin is typically going to be a warrior. And the warrior is more often than not going to out pressure you because they've got more bulk and they've got more base damage. You need to scale harder as an assassin. So a lot of the warriors are just pushing these assassins out down the list just because they just bully them out. All right, Scylla. This is a top mage. Yagayi. I think Scylla might just be the best mage in Joust right now. Is that crazy? That might not be that crazy. I don't think that's crazy. That's not crazy to say. Scylla is incredibly strong. 11.6 is her patch. Everyone's a lot squishier. And so, like we were talking about, same thing with Kama, is the safer you are with as much burst as possible, Those are like the two big things that 11.6 did. If you got a lot of burst and you got a lot of safety, you're probably good. Scylla fits the bill. Very, very strong mage. Serket. Ah. I'm going to put her there. I'm going to do it. You kind of have to pick or ban this god. Or play Ares. I don't like Kuzenbo. She just does a little bit too much. Difficult god to play properly, though. Very difficult god to play properly. I don't think I've played against a Serket that has dazzled me in the fashion of an SS ranking. But I am very aware of what this god is capable of doing. And she is just a little bit too strong. She will solo your carry no matter who you are, and if she doesn't feel like doing that, then she will poke your tanks. And you can't poke her back when you're CC'd. After 11.6, even stronger, she has a 5% out of conquest buff that gives her, or 5% extra damage against enemy gods buff outside of conquest. Combined with Runeforged, she will be doing 20% extra damage to you. And also, she's got a 10% damage reduction buff outside of conquest. So, combining those two things with how strong she already was before a 9.5 revert, she just is too much. Probably going to have to remove at least one of those non-conquest buffs to bring Serket down a little bit, because I don't think she's as potent in Conk. And you just build... The wonderful build that I stewed up for Serket is Warrior's Axe, Runeforge, Jotuns, Archdruid Fury, Relic Dagger, Mantle of Discord, Fire Blink, buy it yourself, don't let it upgrade on its own, get it after you get the Relic Dagger at the very least, and a Beads. You won. There are very few counters to that. Ares, you have to cripple her or slow her down in some way. Ares can do it. Artio is a little bit worse at doing it, but can do it. Having a CC immune ability or instant escape is good against it. So like a Scylla can probably survive a Serket. If the Serket blinks, you just instantly ult as the Scylla. Just respect her blink. That simple. Or if you're Morgan, you just instantly ult when she blinks. But it is very tricky. You might still die if you do that. So you got to be positioned very properly. Have your teammates going as roaming wards for you to make sure you're not dying as a backliner against this character. Characters that I find can also perform well against her because they pressure her out are Mulan, because she's going to grab her from a longer distance than the Serket's going to be able to engage. So you can really poke her out and punish her before she's even able to make that impact that she wants to make. Osiris, because the poke that she's going to put on you isn't going to matter as much because you're really, really tanky, and you can poke her from further away. So those are two of my favorite matchups in a Serket. But very, very tough god to play against. Gotta pick the right stuff. E-set dog Serket. Set. We're gonna put Set top of A. He's either top of A or bottom of A plus. Very respectable burst coming from this character. And he's got one of those non-conquest buffs where he's 10% damage mits. And then his 3, of course, gives 15% damage mits. So you build like Sigil Blackthorn on this guy, and he gets pretty darn tanky. And you build a lot of damage past that point, and I'm convincing myself that he's A+. He's bottom of A+. Yeah, his burst is very relevant. But an ult god. Ult gods are always trickier to play than your run-of-the-mill characters. Like, Fafnir is much tougher to play than Cerberus, just because you have to play around that ult and really find effectiveness with it. Set is the same way. So, can be tricky to find that impact. But if you do, you profit heavy. So Set is a decent assassin. Not bad at all. Alright, Sheva. This is one of the strongest warriors in the game right now. He will land right here below Cucullin. Just in there. Not to move Odin up to. I want to do this too. Yeah, we'll do that. Sheva. After 11.6, the double knock-up combo that he whacks you with hurts a lot more. With a Rune Forge and an Arc Druid, a double knock-up combo that he hits you with, one-shots you as a backliner. 2 items in. I've got a clip of hitting a 385 damage Arc Druid Fury proc on an E-Shell first day of the patch. Playing Sheva. And she was, what, 1 level below me? I think we were level like 13 to 12 or something. And yeah, that dude did not survive that. Guy is just a little bit too good and a little bit too easy, a little bit too effective. Sheva, really, really strong character. I can't think of a single backliner that enjoys playing against Sheva. Like, oh, this is the freest matchup for me. Like, he's just really, really annoying. So, he is a very top performing warrior right now. Scotty. That's a long video, guys. 2 hours. Holy Jesus, we gotta finish this one up. Let's rapid fire. The Scotty is going to be, This is one of... She's not that bad, actually, but she's definitely not that good. I'm either putting her bottom A+ or top A. Put her top A. She's got good clear. Pretty annoying to play against. You put a Scotty Ice inside a Cabrakan ult. It's kind of funny. See him bounce around. Her burst is much more relevant, as we were talking about. These burst hunters are a bit stronger now. Post 11.6. Yeah, you guys are thinking A too. Yeah, I agree. She can go that build with the Jotun's Vigor, Soul Eater, Bluestone Brooch, Titan's Bane / Crusher, and then finish with that Heartseeker Duality build. That's a really, really nice ability hunter build that feels really strong, and she's just so fast. That's the biggest thing I've noticed playing against Scotties recently in the past, even before 11.6. This god moves at freaking Sanic speed, man, on her 3, and then she has 4 seconds of slow immunity after she leaves it. Like, she is shamovin'. So you need to have the proper dive to catch this chick. She is so fast, and she does a lot of damage too. So I actually give Scotty a bit of respect when I play against her, but not as much as I give these guys. So we're gonna leave her top A. Brobeck. Well, that is the easiest S of all time. We're gonna put him just above my boy Serb here. Maybe just below my boy Serb. Sobek he's just a mainstay of Joust. He's that guy. He really is that guy. Or maybe one of those like 10 guys. He's just got really good CC, really good pressure, and the threat, just the threat of him plucking you is just so scary. No matter who you are, especially early on in the game. So Sobek, just a really strong god, and he's kind of like same category as like Bacchus, same category as Achilles, where it's like before 11.6, these guys weren't killing you because they couldn't 100 to 0 you, but now he kind of can do that again. So really scary. Soul. Scott is all right. She's got good pressure. I'm gonna put her top of A. She's kind of similar to Oleron, maybe under Oleron. They're about the same. It could go either way. But they do kind of the same thing. Just early pressure gods, good burst, but easy to dive. Soul is probably just a little bit safer, and Oleron has a little bit stronger of a team fight ult, much stronger of a team fight ult, so pick your poison, basically. They even look the same, bro. What the heck? Alright, Sun Wukong. I think this god is quite strong, actually. I would put Sun Wukong either top of A+ or bottom of S. I would put him bottom of S. I think this god is really good. More than most divers. As a diver player, a player that mostly plays divers, Wukong is one of my favorite gods to be. Definitely top 5 in the diver category come the late game. Because you've got some of the best poke, and you're very safe. That is the biggest. If you can poke, be safe, and dive efficiently and effectively. Those are like the three things that just make my day as a diver. And Wukong just meets all those requirements so well. Definitely one of the most consistent diving characters. Like, I am down to dive a Medusa as a Wukong late game. Super down. Very easy for me to kill her. Because I just have summon the extra health bar and then wait up there for a little bit and I come down. So, yeah. And I'm always escaping. Alright, Surtur. Oh boy, oh boy. I think Surtur is actually pretty good right now. But I hesitate to drop him in the S rank. But I will put him in top of A+. I do think Surtur is pretty strong. Kind of had a nice glow up like Shock. He just does damage. He really does. He's not quite as safe as like your Wukongs of the world, and he's not quite as bursty and as ability heavy as your your Cucullins and your Achilles, or yeah, your Cucullins and your Achilleses and your Shevas and your Osirises of the world. But his one hits really freaking hard, and it does magical damage. So if you have a double Fizz comp with a Guardian in the back, and they just stack Fizz D, and you have 300 extra damage on your Surtur one come 15 minutes, you just go chonk. Hit so hard with Arc Druid? Yeah, that too. Arc Druid, Rune Forge, really solid items on him. And with the lower health pools on everybody, his one gaining that extra damage is just so much more impactful. Can stack it up really nicely and easily with the changes they've done to it. Not as efficiently as before they changed this one, but it's a little bit nicer to get into fights early and feel like you don't have to kill the target that you apply to your 1/2 when it's an enemy god. Like before, you just always wanted to one a minion so you could stack up the damage. But now you can one a god, and wanting a god and not killing them is the same amount of extra damage as wanting a minion and killing it. So you can much more comfortably stack your Surtur one by hitting gods and feel okay about it. So Surtur just feels really strong to me right now. I've been playing him a lot. Alright, Susanoo. This god is kind of weak, boys. Kind of weak. But how weak? I think I'm going to put him above Merc and B. It takes a long time for this guy's burst to come online. A lot longer than the other guys here in A. But a little bit better than the guys below him. And it's a really tricky situation trying to balance tankiness and damage on him. We do have Arc Druid Fury now, which kind of makes that a little bit easier. I think I played him a few days ago, and I went Sigil Blackthorn with Arc Druid, and it actually felt pretty okay. I bought a 500 pot to kind of give myself a bit of extra damage as well at that point, since I was building relatively tanky. And I was doing really solid damage to the backline Agni. So, it wasn't that bad, but he definitely wasn't that good. Is this going to be on VOD review for later? Yes, it will, and I will also be posting this to YouTube. This is a lengthy one, boys. I did not expect it to go this long, but we did start from scratch and do a lot of explanations, so hopefully you guys are absorbing all this information and it's helping you out. That is what it's for. Sylvanas. I want to put Sylvanas in A+. I played this god like 5 times recently, trying to like troll and possibly lose 100 MMR to shed some MMR and get more border points later on other gods. And I kept failing because Sylvanas was too good. Like, this god is actually really, really fun. Once you get to those that level 15 stage and you pick up your seeds and they reset your cooldowns by 1 second, including your ult. And when your 1 hits like even minions, you get 1 seed per minion. So if you hit a whole wave with your 1, like 6 minions, and then you pick up all the seeds, you reset your cooldowns by 6 seconds. All of them. That is so many seconds. So, Sylvanas is really fun. I really enjoy him, but don't know how strongly I can position him here. It's either top of A or bottom of A+, because he actually is not bad. You know what? I'm going to put him bottom of A+. I'm feeling a little ballsy here. Because not only does he have that really strong passive, but Sylvanas 3 is actually one of the most annoying things to have to worry about. It's kind of like a Sobek pluck. in my experience, where it's like, you know those abilities, you play against those gods, and it's like, man, I just always have to be thinking about this ability coming to get me, like Sobek Pluck, or like Ares Chain, or like a Bracken Blink ultimate. Like, so I always have to like keep that in mind. Like Sylvanas grabbing me through a wall is actually the scariest thing. It's so scary. And he's actually like I found him to be a bit tankier than I remember. But maybe I just haven't played against the right stuff, so I hesitate to put him too high. But Sylvanas actually feels kind of good right now. You got to try him. Level his 2. Being an Aura bot right now for your backline is really nice. So like if they have like really heavy dive, for example, and I play Sylvanas and I go like Lotus Sickle and Thebes and like Sov or Heartward, depending on what their comp is, like you can give your backliners like 100 extra prots with this god. It's really annoying to dive that. And then you go like Bracer so you can be fast, or like Winged Blade so you can evade like their slows and whatnot. Really annoying. Yeah. Like GG Sun said, the trade-off is you are very, very low mobility. So you have to play around that with stuff like Bracer, stuff like Sprint, stuff like Winged Blade, and really survive. But if you can do that, if you play it properly, you are playing like a completely different game mode than the other guys are once you hit level 15. So it can be quite powerful. And like we were talking about, that 3 is always relevant. Terra. I'm putting this god just under Bacchus. Really, really strong Guardian. Severely underplayed. I think Guardians in general just aren't played that much for whatever reason. This, that, and the other thing. Like, just people don't like them, or they'd rather play more aggressive gods that can kill more easily, or, you know, whatever. But Terra, early pressure, really strong. She's one of the few Guardians that can clear a wave and help your team get that pressure early. So she's got like that Atlas factor, that Ares factor, where they can help clear. And that's really effective when you're trying to get some presence around the first like purple buff and whatnot. Her 2 is incredibly effective at like zoning off camps or keeping people locked down that don't have good ways around it. And I find that using her 2 as a body blocking tool is more effective than actually using it for damage in a lot of scenarios. And then, of course, the 3 buff that she got a few patches ago, where it actually doubled the healing that your 3 does. At max rank, Terra 3 heals for 20 a tick over 10 seconds, half a second per tick. She heals you for 400 at max rank on her 3. So Terra is incredibly strong. She's one of the most annoying characters when you're trying to dive her backline, because she has so many CCs to get you off, and she also is giving them damage mitigation and a heal, and making you take more damage. So, can be fairly annoying to play against the Terra. I actually ban her relatively often when I need to ban Guardians in the second ban phase, and I think this god is just really strong. Just, like I said, not played very much. Alright, Thanatos. He is A. Below Dodgy. Not the worst character ever, but definitely not the best. Decent burst, but like a lot of the other assassins in this tier, gets poked out by the big, beefy, chunky, high base damage characters. But he can execute, so that's something. But, yeah, not great. The Morgan. I want to put the Morgan in A+. I think she's a sneaky. He is a very sneaky. When played well. You can do some freaky stuff with this god. And I think the big thing that holds her back is not a lot of people have the creativity to utilize her properly. Because if you're like good ult combos when you're looking for like a dive squad and you have like a Kama or a Poon Bots on your team, like this is a pretty solid character to go later on in the draft if they don't have like something that can dive you super easily, like a Lancelot or an Erendite Nem, or you know, this, that, and the other thing. But she can be solid. She definitely be solid. I think she's actually a sneaky decent matchup into like Mulan, because you can, like, if Mulan threes, you just throw your 3 in front of her and then she grapples your clone instead. Might even be able to apply that same tactic to Serket, but that would probably be a lot less effective. But yeah, she's decent. She has good clear. And her ult's really good. Just a long cooldown. And like we were talking about, those characters that are ult reliant and you have to play around their ult to make them good do tend to be a little bit harder for people to come around to and figure out. Like your Fafnirs and your Ganeshes and Kulu, whatnot. But yeah, in the burst meta, post 11.6 can definitely make a character like this work. Double flat pen, shard, poly, rod. Boom. You did it. Conduit gem. All right, Thor. Thor is an A+ assassin. I'm going to put him under Nemesis. Good range, long range stun. But Tectonic Rift is, I believe it's a 17-second cooldown at base. Thor 2. 17 seconds, scaling down to 15. They also nerfed Thor a couple patches ago. He's a 14-second hammer instead of a 12-second hammer. So he's not doing it super often. And being able to cast your abilities early and often is very nice, like Camazotz can. So Thor lacking a little bit there, but he does have that hard CC that Camazotz doesn't. Can build Runeforge very easily. It's very nice going to like a tanky build on Thor. My preferred build is definitely Warrior's Axe, Runeforged. If they're double Fizz, go Glad Shield. Double Magical, go Genji's. Pridwen after, get the Glad Shield or the Genji's that you didn't get there. Or you can get Arc Druid, and then you finish with a Mantle. Thor, not bad. The only caveat is you kind of have to go Sunder with that build I just listed, because you do run into that problem where you can't kill tanks if you don't. And so you're going to have to be able to kill them off of a wall, Runeforge proc, into a Sunder, teammate hits them. That's the big thing. Teammate hits them. That's what you need if you're going to play Thor. You need like an on hero to hit them too, or like maybe like a higher pressure god, like with a Medusa, for example. You hit a Thor wall on that guy, Runeforge proc, boom, 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 Viper shots, dead. Great stuff. But Thor is definitely an underutilized character. I think he's pretty cool and can be pretty effective in Joust. Thoth? I'm giving him bottom of A+. Maybe above Raw. Yeah, he's in like the same boat as Persephone. Good damage. Really good damage. But very easy to kill. Very, very easy to kill. Like a Fenrir Brutalize is probably taking half this guy's health at level 3. So, not feeling good for him. But he does have some of the safest, more safe follow-ups. Can be a good last pick. His damage against tanks has always been a struggle for him, but it's not as bad as it used to be. He's gotten changes over the years that have made it nicer. And can one-shot people off of stuff like Najal. One Thothel hitting your carry in the late game could just end the game. Obviously not going to be like super likely to happen, but Thoth is definitely one of those characters that can make that happen. He utilizes that double flat pen build very well, like do more of Deso, or do more of Divine, or even Deso Divine, into Mirrodin, Shard, Rod, and then you can get Reaver at the end. Oh, I know, that's too many slots. You'd have to replace the Rod with a Reaver if you wanted that. But yeah, Thoth, not bad, but can be punished heavily. Tiamat. I'll give Tiamat top of A. She's just so abysmal early. So abysmal early. I want to give her bottom of A+, actually. We'll give her bottom of A+, guys. How about that? She's just so awful early, but her late is really, really, really strong. You don't insta-win if you get late, but your chances of winning with Tiamat versus a lot of different mages in the late goes up pretty high. You think Thoth's an A? He might be, but I think Thoth is better than Nox. So we'll give him an A+. All right, Tsukuyomi. I think Suki is bottom A+. He has good range, which a lot of the assassins don't have. He's like a downgrade Kama, basically. Doesn't have the jump. His ult isn't as safe. But he has like similarly strong damage. And what he doesn't have in the jump and the ult is he can throw down that 3, which is really annoying because it lasts for 6 seconds and slows you forever. So Suki built mainly damage or even a little bit more hybrid can be effective. Like, you could even build like a Frostbound on him if you wanted to. But good Axe Procker. Good at trading. Just a little bit naturally squishier and not super safe, so can be punished in that regard, but not a bad god at all. And he has a bug where you can't silence his 2. So that's also a thing. Like, you can silence him, but he'll just keep swinging it. All right, tier. I think tier is not too bad, actually. I'm going to put him... I'll give him top of A. I was going to say bottom A+, but he ain't that good. He can really mess around with you, though. He has really annoying pressure with his blink, right? Getting you in those fearlesses, particularly if like the other team has some pressure on you and they're playing near your tower line. Like, Tier's obviously there and gonna punish you, so he always makes you feel like you should go blink. But his damage output is definitely nothing compared to any of the warriors above him. So he trades out quite a bit of heavy damage for survivability and the mobility and, you know, being able to push you around and whatnot. But he can be very annoying to play against. So, not a bad god. Not a terrible selection by any means. Just gotta have just the right matchup. Uller. This god is worse than you might think. I'm gonna put him A+ under Hachiman. Very bottom A+. His burst is good. You'd think he'd be one of the best after the 11.6 reversion of 9.5. But he simply is just harder to play than his counterparts and not as effective as the others, even when played at a top level versus others played at a top level. So, like, why would I play someone that's harder to execute and also doesn't give me as much impact as his counterparts? Those counterparts being Chiron, Marty, Medusa, even like Donza even are gonna do like a similar thing but better. So I honestly was hesitating. I was about to put him in A, but I think he is better than these guys. But yeah, Wheeler just struggles with mana unlike the other ones, or struggles more with mana, I should say, like his counterparts, and just like I said, harder to execute with less impact. Vamana. Unfortunately, this god is not the best. I'm gonna put him in A with Gilgamesh. I think he's similar strength to Gilgamesh. These gods have just been, they've had the highest of highs and they've had the lowest of lows, and now they're at a below average medium where it's just they've been nerfed enough times to where they're just not as effective as they once were, even in the scenarios that you would love to pick them. Is Kama the worst S tier god, or do you just have assassins listed last? It is assassins last. So I'm just doing by class here. You got warriors first, and then hunters, guardians, and mages, then assassin. All right. Vulcan. One of the strongest characters before 11.6, and still a very strong character after 11.6. Kind of in a similar boat to E Shell. These characters are likely to just like follow each other around in tier lists because they do very similar things. High pressure, high burst, easy to punish with the right stuff. But if you do have that pressure, they feel unstoppable at times. Because when you're 2 levels down, kind of tough to kill the Vulcan, even when you make it to him. So, a lot of burst coming from the Vulcan. And he's very good at generating pressure for his team, like E-Shell, right? X-Ball. This is a very strong hunter. But how strong is the question? I'm not going to put him as high as some people might, but I will drop him in here into the A+ between Marty and Chiron. The damage from this god is immaculate once he hit 15 minutes. Before then, he cannot clear a wave. He cannot clear a buff camp. You are not really offering that much to your team, and you're getting smelted by the high pressure picks like Mulan and Kukulkan and Osiris and all those warriors. So, ticking time bomb. If you make it there, could be feeling pretty good. But if you make it there down 2 levels, not feeling very good. So you just have to make it there. So you got to draft around it, but can output immense damage once you get there. Jing Chen, top guardian. Not the top guardian, but definitely a top guardian. I'm going to put him between Atlas and put him just below Bacchus. Another character that had a nice little increase in effectiveness after 11.6, I would say, because you can actually kind of like solo a backliner a bit easier with the lower health pool. He's obnoxiously safe. Very strong first pick, Jing Chen, just because there just isn't much you can do to counterplay him. Similar to like an Osiris, where it's just like, what do I pick into this? It's not like I just pick a god and then he's just shut down. Like, you just can't do that to Jing. And he just got relevant CC, solid poke, good dive, great sustain. Just a good god. Hard to stop him. But also, he's not like outputting as much pressure on you as like the Osirises and the Kuzenbos and the Cirquettes and the Mulans of the world and the Kukulkans. So we can't make him like the best god in the tier list, because even though he's relatively unpunishable, he doesn't do as much offensively as some more of the top, the tippity top. But he is just really good. Yamoja. She is going down here in A. She's just a very meh character in Joust. She has okay pressure, but the fact that you have to constantly battle your Omi and your ult is a 140-second cooldown makes it a bit tougher. Her damage numbers are not very high, so she's a very support. Her healing is decent, which is nice in Joust. Having sustain is always very, very nice in Joust. And she can counterplay those characters that can't escape the walls very well. Very easy to find a nice box to trap people in. But if they build Phantom Shell and they negate every single ult, Phantom Shell being a 130-second cooldown and your ult being 140, makes it a little tough. Of course, you're going to build a little bit of cooldown, probably, but what if they get a Relic Dagger? Depression. So, in some cases, they can kind of, a lot of cases, they can kind of just ignore you and just beat you down by having more damage and abilities that are just more effective earlier on than you, and then you just lose. Because you just can't return fire as well. Ymir, kind of the same way, honestly, as that poor Yamoja, but, I'm tempted to put him A+, but I think I'm going to put him top A. Because, once again, he's just not packing the same punch as a lot of these other stronger characters. But his CC is very relevant, just like Yamoja's. And the wall, very, very powerful ability, similar to like Yamoja Riptide or Yamoja Ult, where they just have really strong abilities, but they don't do a lot of damage, so hard to make use of that without the proper draft, and he can be punished a lot harder than a lot of the other Guardians too. So, I do like Ymir, though. I think he's cool. I think the last time I played him, I actually went like 10-1 or something. It was kind of funny. Yu Huang. I think that Yu Huang is an S tier character. Is this crazy? This might be crazy. But I think Yu Huang is a top mage right now. If you're picking a mage, and you know how to play this guy, you're not in a bad spot. Because 11.6 favors safe burst. Yu Huang is kind of a varied version of a Scylla. His 1 and 2 don't hit as hard. They're not as impactful as hers are usually. But his ult is much more consistent than a Scylla ult, provided you know how to use it. And then, of course, he's just obnoxiously safe with his 3. So I think Yu Huang is really strong. He can utilize that double flat build really well. And his damage is much more relevant now, because the thing about Yu Huang before is, like, I didn't really care to even kill him, because he just didn't hurt that much. But now he hurts a lot more, as a tank, particularly. So, we got to be very careful around that guy. I think he's a top performer. All right, Zeus. Pretty much the exact opposite of the Yu Huang. One of the least safe mages in the game. We're going to drop him real low down here. I'll put him in the A tier, I think. Because he actually does do a lot of damage. Kind of annoyingly, a lot of damage. Put him down here. Just drop him down there in the center somewhere. A lot of damage. Can provide a lot of pressure if he doesn't get Blink Sheva 1'd at the first wave and die instantly. But yeah, that's the reason why he's down here. Because he just gets Blink Sheva 1'd and dies instantly. Very low base health pool, very easy to kill. Like, we talk about how a lot of these mages, you just have to play your space properly when you have low levels of escape. Like, even if you play your space properly, you might not live. Or you might be too far away to have an impact on the fight. So the Zeus is just not great. In comparison, the Zhang Kui is quite strong. I think Zhang is actually a top mage right now. Attire's been playing it a bit, and I think it's quite powerful. He gets a lot of protections from that passive. Like, we're talking early levels. Zhang is starting to get close to pushing that 100 of each prot without even having his ult procced. So, that combined with people being easier to kill just makes Zhang feel that much stronger and look that much stronger from what I've seen across all kinds of levels of gameplay. So, Zhang Kui is definitely a character I'm finding myself respecting a little bit more as I play and watch more of these Joust games. And with that, we're going to wrap up the tier list. It's been quite a trek, hasn't it? A lot longer than I was expecting it to be, but got a lot of explanation, and I think we have ended with a fairly solid list here. You guys got any questions, any comments, any concerns, or is this looking good? Yes, move Mulan up a tier. No, I don't think I will. Anything else? Anyone else? Taking on requesters? Yeah, once again, this is a tier list based strictly off of like how I view the Joust game mode breaking down these days. What I personally think is really strong. SS tier being must pick, must ban. S being pretty much what you're trying to fill your draft out most of the time. Your first and second picks. Your A plus really solid to round it out. Your draft they're strong picks as well, but you're mainly looking to pick them in specific scenarios where they're strong, because they have a lot of really strong positives about them, but they do have a few negatives that you really got to watch out for. Your A tier is just like your A-OK pick. They got, good amount of positives, but also a good amount of negatives. So they're just a little bit weaker than the A+ers. The B, B and C, we typically just don't want to dip into there ever. You like where Kakolan is? Glad to hear it. Thanks for the feedback, Mr. Deep. Gonna be a long video. Yeah, we're at 2 minutes and 49, or 2 hours and 49 minutes at the moment. Think Surtur is bottom S. You think so? Give me your most convincing argument, and we'll consider it. I am willing to consider it, because I do think that god is pretty strong, but I do hesitate to move him up. Just need to see a little bit more. One-shotting mage with just a 2-1. Yeah, he's pretty good. Got a good chase down, but I don't know. I think if I moved Surtur up, I'd have to move Herc up. Also, Misty is like really hungry and she just keeps bashing my monitor. Hmm. Hmm. I think I'm gonna leave the Surtur monkey. But maybe in the future. Maybe in the future. All right, guys. I think we've got a pretty solid list here. This is the final list. Kuz and Bo Ket are our mainstayers in the must pick, must ban category. And we got a whole lot of tanky targets taking up the upper echelons. A lot of mages in A plus that are just a tier below all these other characters, but pretty solid list, I would say. A lot of strong characters, a lot of okay characters. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy. Love pumping out content like this, and hope it helps you guys. If you think anything is like egregiously placed, bring it up in the comments, and we'll see what everybody thinks about it. But yeah, until the next time, guys, you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.